Hey guys, how are you all? Welcome back to my channel. Today we will see what if Naruto saves Ino from Sasuke. If you enjoy then please like, share and do comments. The sun shined down on the village hidden in the leaves. Sakura was walking along, chatting with Konohamaru. Tamari was at the barbecue restaurant with Choji and Shikamaru. Shino was tending to his bugs. Kiba was feeding Akamaru. Lee was training with Neji and Tenten. Hinata was training with her younger sister Hanabi. Ino at her family shop and, as for Tsunade, well, she was half asleep in her office doing paperwork. Kind of. Meanwhile, Naruto was headed back towards the village. It had been a long 3 years, and he was more than ready to come back. As he walked through the gates to enter the village, a voice very familiar to Naruto rang out. "State your name and business," Kotetsu demanded, sounding rather drowsy. At that moment Naruto pulled his hood down and looked at the man. "You mean you don't recognize me? I'm hurt," Naruto said, playfully pouting. Is that who I think? Naruto? Finally, I knew you'd recognize me at some point. I need to go see Tsunade," Naruto said as he walked up the path towards the Hokage's mansion. A few minutes later, Naruto found himself in the window of the Hokage's office, with Tsunade leaned over her desk and passed out with a bottle of sake on her desk surrounded by 3 small stacks of paperwork. Naruto looked at her once and thought, "Nah, it's not worth the physical pain." Naruto hopped out of the window sill and started to tap Tsunade on the shoulders, waking the Hokage. "Lady Tsunade," he whispered, "wake up." Tsunade's head shot up off her desk and Naruto was sent back flying into a wall nearby. "OWW Ba-chan." Naruto whined. "Wait, who did I just? There's only one person in the world who calls me that," Tsunade thought, looking around. Naruto?" Tsunade called out, looking over the bottle and stacks of paperwork to see her favorite blonde digging himself out of the wall. A whine coming from the wall only confirmed her suspicions when she walked over from her desk and pulled Naruto into a hug. "Naruto, where have you been? We haven't heard from you or Jiraiya in a while," Tsunade said. "Oh, I've been around. I've finished my training," Naruto replied. "However, as much as I'd hate to dampen the mood, and I'm excited about being back home, there are some things that need to be discussed sooner rather than later." Tsunade's eyes softened as she had a feeling there was going to be some bad news. She returned to her chair after letting Naruto stand in front of the desk. "Well, there are a few things, some aren't good. So I'm gonna be straight about it." There was a pause that seemed to hang in his throat. Naruto's eyes began to water and a tear rolled down his face. "Master Jiraiya is dead," Naruto choked out. Tsunade looked at him closer to see if he was lying. The tears streaming down his face only confirmed her earlier suspicions. Jiraiya was dead. Tsunade hung her head. Tears started to form before she ran over and pulled Naruto into a strong, but loving embrace. A few minutes later, the room had quieted down a little, tears were wiped, and they were back where they started. Naruto had calmed down enough to continue. Naruto couldn't bring himself to say the next thing, so Tsunade gave him some paper and a pen. After a few scribbles on the paper, Naruto handed it back. The paper read, "Sasuke is dead too." Tsunade's mouth dropped wide open when she read what the blonde had written. "He killed Jiraiya, and I lost it. 9 tails." Tsunade shook her head. Naruto proceeded to grab the large scroll in the corner of the room and unsealed it. What appeared next was the bodies of Jiraiya and Sasuke. Jiraiya was noticeable, but Sasuke, there was little left of him. His head and some of his torso was present, but nothing was left of his lower body. Naruto stared at Sasuke's remains before he sealed them back up in the scroll. He had failed. His promise to Sakura, it was no more. Naruto managed to get out. "Sakura is going to hate me now. I promised to bring him back." This wasn't how I'd imagine it. Hell, the village is going to have a field day when they find out. "Don't worry, I'll hold them back if things go sideways. Is there anything else I need to know, before I summon your friends?" Naruto nods, wiping the tears still on his cheeks. "After I regained control from the fox, he was calling my name. His last words were, 'Take my Sharingan. Take down Itachi.'" Tsunade gave him a serious look as if to question the legitimacy of his words. Naruto closed his eyes and ran chakra to them instead of revealing his blue eyes. They spun red with 3 black tomo in each. Tsunade blinked many times before nearly fainting. "Before you try to pass out here, there is one last thing. I've talked to the Kyuubi, and he said with my new eyes he may need to adjust." Nothing bad though, he seems to think that he will be able to mutate the Sharingan into something better. The furball won't tell me what it is though, he says it's a surprise. He rambled on as his Sharingan spun back into the bright blue orbs from before. Tsunade couldn't control her shock now. Her head hit the desk just as Shizune walked in. Lady Tsunade and Naruto? How did you? Naruto pointed out the window. Ah, was all she could get out before Naruto continued. Shizune, I need you to go and summon my classmates, and Kakashi. Don't tell them anything yet, just that the Hokage requests their presence immediately, Naruto said, putting away the scroll. Shizune runs out of the room and sends some Anbu to summon the class to Tsunade's office. A few minutes later, the door opens and Shizune opens the door. In stepped Shikamaru, Choji, Ino, Tenten, Neji, Hinata, Lee, Kiba, Akamaru, Kakashi, Temari, and Sakura. Naruto's back was turned to the door, and when he heard the door shut he decided to slowly turn himself around. As he faced the group, Lee shouted something about youth. Sakura smiled and welcomed him home. Ino, Hinata and Tenten stood still with mini nosebleeds almost fawning over him as he had grown from the little boy they once knew. Neji gave a smile and a nod. Kakashi gave his signature one-eyed smile, Shikamaru nodded, and Choji continued to munch on his usual bag of chips with a smile. Kiba waved and Akamaru barked. Finally, after things had settled down, Naruto finally spoke up. Tsunade managed to pick her head up off of the desk as he started to speak. Guys, it's good to see you all, but I have a bit of news. Some of it is bad though, so bear with me here. Just give me a second to secure the room, Naruto said calmly. He flashed through some hand signs and called out, sealing jutsu, privacy barrier. The barrier went up and Naruto was quick to grab the scroll from the other side of the room. What I am about to tell you doesn't leave this room or get told to anyone who is not a shinobi of the leaf. And now the explanations began about some of the new jutsu he had learned. However, at the end of the explanation Sakura pointed towards the scroll. Naruto knew this time would come. He looked at the ground for a moment before he started the hardest part of this meeting. First thing you all should know, is that I am a human sacrifice, a Jinchuriki. The lie that you were fed at the academy was that the fourth Hokage killed the nine-tailed fox. That's not the case, he sealed the fox into a newborn baby. One that he was close to. I was that baby. All of those glares some of the civvies sent me, the mobs that always chased me down when I was younger, it was because I contained the fox. Most people were unable to tell the difference between the kunai and the scroll that holds it, if you will. Naruto looks around at his friends' faces to get their reactions. Everyone was disappointed and muttered to themselves about stupid civilians. The reason I have chosen to tell you this is because I believe that as my friends, you deserve to have some level of transparency, and that it is kind of critical to the next point I'm going to get to. Naruto motioned for his classmates to back up before laying the scroll on the ground, unrolling it and releasing the seal on the scroll to reveal the two corpses once again. Everyone's eyes widened. Akamaru sniffed at the corpses and gave a little whine, and Sakura dropped to the floor, crying and holding what was left of Sasuke's body close to her chest. Ino fought to hold back the tears welling in her eyes. Naruto, what happened? You promised to bring him back. Sakura cried out. Listen everyone, Naruto said while he started to tear up once again. Cause I don't think I'll be able to say it again, I'm gonna keep it short. A year and a half ago me and Jiraiya were on our way back from the hidden sand, visiting Gaara. Temari, you remember that right? The sandy blonde-haired girl nodded, when Sasuke came out of nowhere. He stabbed Jiraiya and killed him. When I saw Jiraiya fall, I lost control of my emotions for obvious reasons and the fox took over. Sasuke stood no chance, Naruto said, wiping the tears from his eyes. Sakura, I'm sorry, there was nothing that I could do. I had no control. Sakura ran out of the room, furious tears streaming down her face. Everyone else got the hint that it was probably time to go, and released the seal. Ino was the only one left besides Naruto and Tsunade. Ino walked over to Naruto who had his head down and crying, and pulled him into a warm embrace. She understood what Naruto was going through. No words could be said to tell him that things would get better. Naruto, I'm sorry about everything. I wish I could have been there to help. No, Ino-chan. It's okay. I'm fine. It's just going to take time. Ino released the embrace, only to grab his hands and look into his eyes. Naruto-kun, it'll be alright. You need to cheer up a bit. Why don't we go get some ramen? I know that usually brightens your day. Naruto nods. She was right, he needed to cheer up. A few minutes of silence and a bowl of ramen later, Ino was the first to speak up. "Ya no, you didn't explain something. Why did it take so long for you to come back? I know you learned some new jutsu, but for you it should take no more than 2 or 3 weeks to learn the techniques, right?" Naruto had to think for a minute before answering. "That is true, but if you remember, some of the important lessons were either spent in the hospital or were shafted by insolent instructors in the academy." Naruto explained. "Wait, I knew that most of the instructors resented you, that I see. But why would you be in the hospital?" Ino asked. Naruto sighed and paid for the ramen before turning to Ino. "I'm going to tell you, but we are going to someplace a little more secluded," Naruto said. Ino had a questioned look on her face and was curious as to where they were going. A few minutes later, Ino figured out where they were. On top of the 4th Hokage's head. "Naruto, why up here? This has always been my favorite place to go. It's calm, quiet, relaxing, and not many people know this is my spot," Naruto said. "Now I'm guessing you want to know why I would be in the hospital so much." Ino nods, signaling for Naruto to continue. At that signal, Naruto took off his jacket. "The reason I was sent to the hospital is because of the villagers and some of the shinobi." Ino's eyes widened in shock. Why? Why would they send you to the hospital? What did they do to you? Naruto knew it would come to this. He took off his shirt and channeled some chakra through his body. Ino blushed furiously at the sight of Naruto shirtless but quickly snapped out of it when scars upon scars began to show themselves on Naruto's chest, back and arms. Ino couldn't believe what she was seeing. She reached out to touch one of the scars on his chest. Before she made contact, she drew her hand back to her face and started crying. Why would they do this to you, Naruto? What did you do that was so bad to have this done to you? Ino cried. Remember those mobs I mentioned would chase me down when we were younger, from before we were ninja? A few of them were during the day. I got a few bumps and bruises from them. But the worst ones were at night. They chased me down with knives and broken bottles among other things. It was their way of trying to kill the fox, and up until just before the Chunin exams, I knew nothing about the fox. I don't think that they will ever understand. They are too blinded by their own anger and pain. I was born the night of the attack, and had the fox sealed inside of me by the 4th Hokage. Both my parents died that night, and the 3rd Hokage was the one that found me, in the exact same spot from where the fox vanished. Some of the villagers heard some shinobi whispering amongst themselves and started making assumptions. Then rumors spread. Almost everyone wanted me dead, so they hunted me. I was stabbed, scraped, beaten, and raped. The last time the villagers had a hunt was the year before I graduated from the academy. And they knew once that year started, they couldn't touch me. So they all came at me at sunset. Burned down my house. All I could do was run. But it did me no good. I always got backed into an alley and I was stabbed more times than I could count. One even slashed at my throat. If an Anbu hadn't come along then, well, I wouldn't be here. Naruto says, showing his cut mark, then continues. And all I know about my parents is that I have my mother's last name. They refuse to tell me who my father is yet. Though I'm sure I'll find out soon. Naruto finished. Ino pulled him into a long, teary hug. She finally understood. She finally understood why Naruto was the way he was back then. He never knew his parents or had any other family to take care of him. The villagers hated him along with a select few shinobi and shop owners. That is the long version of why I was gone so long, but in basics, I was taught a lot of things that my parents never got to teach me, like how to cook and deal with household chores and discipline and whatnot. The sun started to set, leaving an orangish-purple sky over top of the village. Ino still had her arms wrapped around Naruto in a light, comforting embrace as the sun went down. Shortly after the sun had set, Naruto spoke up. I think we should both head home. I don't want your parents to kill either of us on my first night back. Naruto said with a chuckle. Ino smiled and nodded. Are you going to walk me home or should I take you back? Ino asked. Naruto responded not a second later. I don't think it would be very nice of me if I had you walk home by yourself, so I'm walking you back. Silence filled the air as they walked towards the Yamanaka residence. No words were spoken until they reached the gates outside Ino's home. Ino was going to go through the gates of her home when Naruto put his hand on her shoulder. "Ino, before you go, I just wanted to thank you for understanding me and for just being there so I could vent. Nonetheless, I still had a good time," Naruto said. Ino turns around and wraps him in a hug. Trying not to cry, "You don't need to thank me. Honestly, it should be the other way around," Ino said. "Naruto, I don't think I could ever make up for how I've acted towards you up until now. For whatever it's worth, I'm sorry for everything," Ino said. "You opened my eyes and helped me understand." Naruto just scratched the back of his head with a light chuckle and said, "You don't need to apologize, you didn't know all the details and you were just following the example. It's all right now. You understand and that's good enough for me," Naruto said. "Now you should probably get in there. I'm not trying to deal with angry parents on my first day back," he says with a laugh. "Okay," Ino says looking down. "Actually, Naruto, I was wondering if you wanted to go somewhere tomorrow night." Sure Ino-chan. Does 7 o'clock sound good?" "Perfect actually. I guess I'll see you then," Ino said. Without another word, Ino gave Naruto a quick kiss on the cheek, and then walked into her home. She slumped down against the door blushing. Naruto stood outside the door, trying to comprehend what had just happened those last few minutes before heading home. On the other side of the door, Ino was contemplating whether or not to talk to Sakura and try to calm her down. She just didn't know what she was going to do. Meanwhile with Sakura, Sakura lays in her bed, crying for the 4th straight hour when her mom knocks on the door. "Sniffles, what do you want, mom?" she says in between cries. "Honey, you've locked yourself in your room since you got back and haven't said anything. What's wrong, sweetie?" she asked. "Mom, you remember my teammate Sasuke, right?" "Yes, I'm well aware of who he is, now spill it," the mother said, rather annoyed. "Sasuke-kun is dead," Sakura sobbed, "and it's all because of Naruto. He promised to bring Sasuke back." "Sakura, listen to me. While it wasn't how you expected, he did fulfill his promise to you," she said. "Let me ask you a question, Sakura. Why were you so hell-bent on getting Sasuke back?" Sakura didn't waste any time answering her mother's question. "Because I loved him. He meant every." Sakura's mom gave her a slap across the face, ultimately shutting the girl up before she continued. "I'm gonna ask you this. Who saved you during the attacks in the Chunin exams?" "Naruto. Did Sasuke even attempt to help you?" "No, but who almost died trying to bring Sasuke's ass back here the first time?" "Naruto. What are you trying to get at, mom? My point here is that ever since you have been in the academy, you've chased someone who doesn't give a single damn about you." The last comment hit Sakura like a fiery kunai out of hell. She was hurt, but the truth did hurt. Her heart was misplaced the entire time. Naruto had done everything he could to make her happy, and she still ignored him. Yet Sasuke has done nothing to help her and everything to hurt her. She felt like such a bitch. Sakura's mom left the room, leaving Sakura to her thoughts. She needed to think about things. She couldn't dare face Naruto after destroying him the way that she did. Not right now. He was probably crying his eyes out right now. Maybe not. He's probably already buried his true feelings and put on his fake smile, Sakura thought as she laid down and closed her eyes to sleep. The day had gone just about how he had planned it to go. He had arrived back at his small apartment to find it was still relatively clean, just one empty ramen container laying on the table from the morning before he left. He sighed as he threw away the container and headed towards his bed. "I really gotta keep these things straightened up," he said, moving the covers back to how they were supposed to lay. He looked to the right of his bed towards his nightstand and saw his copy of the original Team 7 picture with Sasuke, Kakashi, and Sakura. Grief and rage filled Naruto to the point that he grabbed the picture with tears in his eyes, and threw it against the wall, shattering the glass and breaking the frame. A few minutes later, he wiped his tears and came down from his outburst, cleaned up the broken frame and its glass, throwing away the picture with it, keeping it face down. After that he went to bed and shut off his lamp. 3-ish hours later, midnight, darkest part of every day. And yet most people can still sleep after all the things they do. Naruto dream. Shouting and the sounds of metal whizzing by his body filled his dreams. He was being chased by the mobs that tormented his childhood, disgraceful shinobi and civilians alike throwing Molotov cocktails, knives and kunai that would hit him every so often. He turned the corner to the Sarutobi compound, which was his only true safe haven, courtesy of the Hokage himself. But just as he ran through the gates, a spear pierced the right side of his chest. As he hit the ground, 3 clansmen rushed to his defense and shunshined him to the hospital after killing those that did him harm. The dream flipped as the ninja that carried him phased away. Naruto and Jiraiya were walking along. They were halfway to Konoha when they decided to camp out and eat before going to bed for the evening. Yeah, sure, it took a day and a half to get him this far away from Suna, but with the pace they were going, it would be a week before they got back. Kami knows that Jiraiya loved doing his research. Naruto was surprised that he was still allowed in the elemental nations with all the peeping he did. When the two had finished eating, Jiraiya then told Naruto to set up camp while he went to the nearby town to do said research. At that moment, the journey back home took a tragic turn. All Naruto heard was the all-too-familiar sound of his friend-turned-traitor's Chidori, only to turn around to see Jiraiya collapse. Taking the Chidori to the heart, rage and sadness blinded him, and the last thing he saw before it all ended was a horrified look on Sasuke's face. End dream. Naruto's head shot open as he woke up in a cold sweat. This was one of many countless nightmares since that day. And he couldn't do anything about it. At least that he could think of. Seconds later, Naruto found himself in his mindscape, staring at the Kyuubi no Kitsune. "What do you want?" the fox growled. "I don't have time for your human issues. I want to ask you something, and I need an answer." The fox growled even more. "If it will get you out of my space, then fine." "What do you need at this hour?" the fox asked, lowering his head to the base of the gate. "I know you can heal me physically. But what about mentally? Or is that out of your power? This is about that day that you almost let me free, isn't it?" The fox sighed. Naruto nods, letting Kurama know that he can continue with his answer. If he even really had one. "I will help you with this, as if I don't, you're probably not going to sleep ever. Which will affect your performance in combat, which may end up killing us both. So listen closely," Kurama went on. "Here's what you need to do. Get back to sleep, and when you wake up again, go to your training grounds and meditate, and I will walk you through the rest." Naruto was going to interject, but the Kyuubi cut him off first. "Get some sleep first. I'll contact you in a few hours so that we can continue." "Hi," Naruto responds before he leaves the mindscape. Seconds later he lays back down to sleep. Meanwhile with Sakura. Sakura twists, tosses and turns in her bed. Dreams replay in the day that Sasuke left. Dream. Sasuke sat on the bench, waiting for Sakura. As she approached, Sasuke stood up and faced her. Something felt off to her, but she couldn't pinpoint what it was. The two were standing a few feet apart. Sakura was first to speak. "Sasuke-kun, why did you call me here? I'm leaving. This village is helping me get nowhere. I'm no closer to killing my brother than I was when I graduated from the academy. He almost killed me a few weeks ago. I'm not strong enough to catch up him. Only Orochimaru can help me get stronger now. Sasuke, I'm sorry, I'm not staying here. Don't bother trying to come after me," he said as delivered a blow to Sakura's neck, knocking her unconscious. He did however have the respect and decency to put Sakura on the bench he was sitting on before he disappeared for the very last time. End dream. Sakura's eyes shot open as he dream had finished. "It may not have been a nightmare, but I still hate that dream," the pink cat thought to herself. She laid back down, and let sleep capture herself. A few hours later at the training grounds with Naruto. Naruto had gotten up after getting some more sleep, gotten ready for the day and headed to the training grounds where he was sitting in the lotus position for meditation. In the mindscape with the Kyuubi. "Kurama, I'm here. Just like you instructed. Good. Now, I need you to continue meditating. When you see the visions of that day, I will instruct you on what to do next," the fox said. Naruto continued to meditate. Kurama noticed that Naruto's breathing hitched. In Naruto's mind, he saw himself being attacked by the fox as if he were in Sasuke's position during the attack. Naruto started to panic when Kurama spoke up. "No, don't break the cycle yet. Watch through to the end. This is your road to acceptance. Don't fear what might have been. Accept what happened." While Kurama was explaining, Naruto's mind was wild as every view of that attack played through his mind. No matter how many times Naruto wanted to stop, he kept pushing through. He reached the end of the visions of the attack and he fell through what seemed like a wall. And at the end of that, an empty mind, with whatever happy memories he had. Naruto stood up from his meditative position and looked at Kurama. Did it work? Close your eyes a few seconds, then tell me if you still see the visions. Naruto did as instructed and then responded with, I don't see any visions. Thank you. Hey kid, I'm going to let you know that you will still have nightmares on occasion, but hopefully they won't be as bad next time. Kurama said. Now go. Continue on your way. I believe you have an event in a few hours. Go get your life straightened back up. I would advise that you go and get some therapy. Kurama laid his head back down on the floor. Leave Mindscape. Naruto had finished his training with Kurama and was putting on the finishing touches to his Rasen Shuriken when he looked up at the sky and realized what time it was. Shit, I'm going to be late. He thought to himself as he bolted for his small apartment. Once there he took a quick shower, got dressed and shunshined about a block away from Ino's house. As he walked up to the front door, he heard arguing coming from the other side and he thought to himself, oh hell, this is going to be fun. While Naruto is making his way through the village, Ino looked at the clock. Shit, she needed to get ready. She picked out her favorite black dress with little bits of glitter sprinkled throughout. She took a few minutes to curl her hair, turning her signature bangs into curly ones that laid in front of her left eye. She looked in the mirror after she put on a short pair of black wedges. To say she looked drop-dead gorgeous was an understatement. She made her way down the stairs into the living room when her father stopped her. Where are you going? Inoichi asked. Ino turned around. Oh, Naruto was going to take me somewhere tonight. Like hell he will. You aren't going anywhere with him. What possessed you to even suggest letting him take you out? Inoichi questioned. Ino's mom walked in, hearing the back end of her family's conversation. Why are you yelling, Inoichi? Who's taking our daughter out? Dad, Ino tried to interrupt. The demon boy thinks he can take Ino out. Dad, he is not that demon. Naruto-kun is human just like us. Who do you think you're yelling at? Her parents yelled back. If you would listen to me so I can explain. Ino yelled. The room was quiet as Ino took a deep breath. Inoichi and his wife stood there, both giving looks that would kill. I'm going to keep it short because he'll be here soon to get me. Yesterday Naruto-kun returned, not that you would care anyways, but he called everyone from our class into Lady Tsunade's office. The first few minutes there were okay. He had gone over a little of what he went through in his training with Jiraiya, and the successes of his trip. But then he decided to drop the bomb on us that Sasuke and Jiraiya-sama are dead. From what Naruto-kun told all of us, confirmed by the Hokage, Sasuke killed Jiraiya and then the Kyuubi took over until Sasuke died. When Sakura heard this, she blew up at him and ran off without saying anything to anyone. I was the only one to stay behind and be there for him. I took him out for a bit and then he further explained some things. She glares at her parents. Some things that the Hokage will know soon, if she doesn't already. Her parents' sweat dropped. What did he tell you? Inoichi asked. I'll repeat myself again. He is not the nine-tailed fox. He only contains him. As a shinobi yourself you should know that the kunai is not the same as the scroll. What some of those villagers, shinobi, and instructors did to him, she tears up. I've seen his scars, both physically and mentally, his chest and back, arms and wrists. Mom, Dad, you have to understand. Before he left with Jiraiya-sama, he didn't even know how to build a tent, much less how to cook. The instructors at the academy shafted his lessons. And when they weren't, he was in the hospital. I can replay the whole memory to you if you don't believe me. Ino said. Inoichi put his hand on Ino's forehead, reading through her memory. He saw everything. The whole conversation and the sight of the scars flooded his mind. After a few more moments, Inoichi pulled back and looked at his wife. She is telling the truth. He says to his wife, who sat in silence for the next few moments. Inoichi turns back to Ino. I want to talk with him before you two leave. And you will wait outside. With that comment Naruto finally knocked on the door. Be nice to him, Ino said, glaring at her father as she headed to the door. She opened the door and motioned Naruto in. I've gotta wait outside, my father wants to talk to you. Mom is in there too, but I wouldn't expect her to say anything. She says with much disdain in her voice. Don't worry about me, you know I've dealt with worse. He says as he heads toward the living room where Inoichi sat in a chair to the right of the couch where he was asked to have a seat. I'm going to make this clear, Brat. And I'm going to say this once, so pay attention. I don't like you. I don't plan to like you. You're very lucky that I'm even allowing this night out, as she calls it. If I so much as suspect anything impure with my daughter, I'll have your head put on a spike by the village gates. Understood? Inoichi finished with a very intimidating glare. Naruto glared back at him. I don't care what you think of me, and honestly not sure why you would hold such a grudge against me, when right now, we have the same interests here. Your daughter's best interests. Time will have to tell with that. Regardless, you of all people gave me a good answer. Inoichi says as he stands up and holds out his hand. Have her back before midnight, he says as Naruto gets up and shakes his hand. With a final squeeze of his hand, Inoichi left Naruto with a chilling image of what would happen if they were late. Naruto then showed himself out the door to a patiently waiting Ino while her father sat in his chair seething. What does that demon want? Do I even want to know about what he said to you? Ino said as she took Naruto's arm and started to walk with him. I'm positive that you would be pissed off if I told you. He refers to me as the D word. Ino looked at him in shock. You can go through my memories if you don't believe me, but just know I'm going to have to resist the urge to knock his ass out if he says it again. Naruto warns. Kami, even my own father. Did my mother say anything while he was talking to you? No. She stood there with a sad expression, almost disappointed in him. That doesn't surprise me. She's never been one to stand up for anyone, much less herself. Ino says with a sigh. They've been like that since I was a baby. I honestly thought your home life wasn't that bad. Honestly, I thought it was miles better since you had parents. Is it wrong that now I have the idea that having no parents is better than having ones like yours? Even as ninjas, don't see the difference between kunai and its sealing scroll? It gets pretty intense every once in a while, usually when mom just wants her space and tells dad to go take a mission. She says as Naruto looks on. So where are you taking me, Naruto? This doesn't look like the way to that ramen stand you love so much. Well, there is a new diner. At least new to me, that's just down the road and a few streets over from Ichiraku's. I figured we could go there and try the food there. I heard they had some really good chicken and shrimp Alfredo. Oh, you are talking about Kurana's? That place opened up a few weeks ago. They've got some of the best food I've ever had. Ino says happily. Well then I guess I picked a good spot to eat then. To Kurana's. Naruto yells while pointing his finger in the air, causing Ino to giggle a little. It was good to finally have the village's original blonde loudmouth back. After a few minutes of walking later, the blondes reached Kurana's diner, walked in and sat down. Not more than 5 minutes later, their orders were being taken. Ino ordered a small bowl of shrimp Alfredo, while Naruto decided on a large bowl of chicken Alfredo. I'm impressed, you chose a place that doesn't carry ramen, and you actually choose something that isn't just noodles in broth. Ino smirks. Hey, I know how to eat more than just ramen. I just choose not to because it is cost-effective and allows me to save my money for supplies and rent. Naruto said. A few seconds of silence and Naruto spots Hinata and Kiba walking in. Hey Kiba. Hinata. Over here. Naruto shouts, motioning for Kiba to come towards their table. Kiba was first to speak after walking over to meet the blondes. Naruto. How've you been? He asked as he walked over with Hinata on his arm. I know it's only been a day or so since you came back, but we didn't really talk. I've been fine actually, I'm just here taking Ino out tonight. Naruto responded. You mean you actually got a date with Ino? How did you land this one? Kiba jokes. Ino spoke up saying, actually I asked him. Kiba and Hinata's mouths dropped. Kiba then playfully saluted. I salute you Naruto, the luckiest guy the first no. Wow Naruto. I'm happy for you. It's good to see you again. Hinata said. Naruto spoke up after a moment of silence. Naruto's question was burning in the back of his mind. So he decided to ask. So Kiba, are you and Hinata? Oh yeah, I guess you didn't hear. Well the answer to your question is yes, Hinata and I are together. Tonight is actually 8 months since we got together. Kiba explained as Hinata blushed. Ah, well, congrats. I'll have to invite you out for a drink or two when we both get some free time. I wish you two the best. Naruto said, while Ino just smiled. A few seconds later the couple split and then Naruto and Ino's food came. Naruto devoured his bowl of Alfredo as Ino finished hers. Naruto left the money to pay the bill and a nice tip for the server. They left the diner and started walking around the shops. Naruto had taken the liberty of getting Ino a stuffed toad. Minutes later they wound up at a small field of wildflowers. Naruto sat down against a tree, while Ino laid across Naruto's lap, looking up at the stars while holding her stuffed toad. Naruto had picked up a purple wildflower and tucked it into her hair. "I don't think I've said it yet, but you look beautiful, Ino-chan," Naruto said. "Why thank you, Naruto-kun. I don't get to hear that one very often, and even if I do, someone rarely means it," Ino replied while blushing. After a while of looking at the stars and the moon, Naruto and Ino were heading back towards the Yamanaka residence arm in arm. Once they got to her door, Naruto gave Ino a hug and started to turn away. Ino then dropped her toad by the door, grabbed his arm, and pulled him back to face her once again. Naruto was taken by shock when Ino pecked him on the lips. "Ino-chan, did you just?" "Yes, I did, but I need you to figure something out first." "What's that?" "You need to figure out if you're mentally ready to be in a serious relationship with me," she said, looking into his eyes, arms wrapped around his neck. Naruto nodded. "I don't see why I wouldn't be ready to have you," he said. "I can still see something is bothering you. Your eyes are the gateway into your mind, and while you have been showing that mask of confidence, I can tell right now that you are scared. If it had to do with anything that happened on your trip, you know I will listen to you, but for now." She paused. "I think you should go talk to Anko. She's a lot like you, she'll understand that mess that's inside your head and be able to help you cope with it better than you are now." Naruto was surprised that Ino knew that he was wearing a mask. Not many really knew about his mask, and those who did never said anything. "I thank you, Ino. I'm glad that you are going to be here for me. It means a lot to me." Naruto hesitated for a moment before giving Ino a kiss on the forehead. Ino blushed at this, and after a few moments Ino picked up her toad and walked inside. Once she was inside, Naruto then started walking home. He was happy, probably the happiest he'd been in a long time, but he still had some work to do for himself. Ino walked into the living room and started to head upstairs when she heard a cough. Her father was sitting in his chair. "Wow, back a whole hour earlier than I instructed. Didn't expect the demon child to follow that direction," Inoichi says as Ino does her best to ignore him and heads up to her bedroom. It had been a month since that night. Every week that the two blondes were in the village, they would go on at least one date. These dates typically ended the same way as the first, but after each date Ino's father had become angrier at the couple. Each time Ino left, there were more hateful words towards Naruto when she returned. She let it be known that she wanted to be with Naruto and never back down from her father. The news of Naruto and Ino's relationship had gotten out thanks to Kiba and Hinata, and their class's opinions were generally positive. Some of the clan heirs were a bit concerned that they would now have two blondes causing chaos throughout the village. Others were hoping that Ino would be able to contain that kind of behavior that Naruto was capable of. Inoichi was furious that other clan heads supported this relationship. The only concerned one was Sakura. With Sasuke gone, what was her purpose now? It seemed like everyone else had someone to look after or to be with, and she seemed to be the odd one out. Kiba had Hinata, Naruto had been hanging out with Ino, Shikamaru and Choji have been inseparable best friends since birth, and they might as well be brothers. Ten has been trying and kind of failing to get Neji's attention. Lee, well, is just Lee. Shino has practically locked himself away with his bugs. Ew, she thought to herself as she cringed. She spent her whole academy and genin life so far just trying to grab Sasuke's attention. She wanted to be able to heal him whenever he got hurt on missions, to be able to keep him safe. Now all she has is Naruto, and she broke his heart the last time she saw him. She sighs as she thinks back to the visit she got from Ino after she blew up at Naruto. Flashback, 3 weeks ago, Haruno residence. Sakura was in the kitchen doing the dishes, mind wandering to her blonde teammate when she heard a knock on her front door. Looking out the window she saw her best friend. She quickly dried her hands off and went to open the door. "Ino, what's up?" she said, letting her friend in and closing the door behind her. "Not much forehead, just checking on you. You've been kinda distant for the last few days, some of us have been worried." "Is everything okay?" Ino asked, putting her hand on the girl's shoulder. Sakura let out a sigh. "I'm fine. I've just been working longer hours at the hospital and keeping the house straightened up since my parents left for a beach vacation." Sakura lies. Ino gives her a stern look. "You are a terrible liar, Sakura, you know that?" Ino says. "What is wrong? I want the truth." Sakura stayed silent for a few moments before speaking up. "He's mad at me. I know it. He did the one thing that I asked of him and I pushed him away." Pushed who away? You mean Naru-kun? Sakura nods, hanging her head before she realizes the suffix added onto Naruto's name. Wait, Naru-kun? She yelled. Yeah, that's a story for later. Ino said, scratching the back of her head while blushing nervously. Anyways, she continued, all you need to do is apologize to him. Then again, if you do, he'll probably ask why, but that's not the issue. Both of you have been through so much since we graduated, and even though you've thought he was a menace most of that time, he's always looked after you and even Sasuke before he defected. A tear started to form in Sakura's eyes, as she hung her head in shame. Look, Sasuke's death is not your fault. It's not Naruto's fault either. Sasuke knew what he was getting into when he left the village with Orochimaru. The second he stepped out of those gates, he was an enemy of the Leaf. Sakura, why are you so against going to apologize to him? I'm afraid he won't forgive me, okay? Sakura started sobbing. I don't think I need to explain why. Ino let out a short laugh. You do realize we are talking about the one person that is possibly the most forgiving person in the world, right? We're talking about Naruto of all people. Sakura wiped her eyes and stared off into the distance. Ino was right. She could trust that Naruto would forgive her. I'm giving you until the end of the month. If you haven't apologized by then, I'm going to drag you to Naruto's house so that he gets said apology. Ino said in a brash tone. Okay Ino, I will. Thank you. That's why I'm here. Ino says with a smile. So about you and Naruto? Sakura says with a sly smirk. Present day. 3 weeks. It had been 3 weeks since Ino had talked to her. And it was also almost payday, which meant the end of the month. Ino said that if she was going to say anything she had to do it soon before he went on his next mission. Which was tomorrow. Sakura had never been much of a procrastinator, but this was different. This was something she didn't know if she could do. I hope he's in a good mood today. Sakura said to herself as she headed out to find him. With Naruto and Ino, the blonde couple was headed to Ichiraku's ramen stand. This was the last day together before they would be separated for an extensive amount of time. A month to be exact. Naruto protested against it, considering that the two blondes were almost inseparable since the night they got together. Well, almost. An Anbu ninja with a jaguar-shaped mask dropped in front of the couple. Naruto Uzumaki, Lady Tsunade needs to see you immediately. Thank you Jaguar. We'll be there shortly. Ino made to follow her boyfriend, but was stopped. I'm sorry Miss Yamanaka, the Hokage wants to see him alone. The agent said. Ino sighed. Fine. She turns to Naruto. Come back soon. I'll be at the ramen stand waiting for you. She smiled. I will. See you in a little bit, Naruto says as he kisses her cheek and then jumped away across some rooftops. Ino turned and walked off. She was going to see what details she could get out of the old man and his younger daughter about Naruto. Time skip 15 minutes. Tsunade hears a knock on the door. It's about time he's here, she says to herself. Come in, she orders. You wanted to see me? Naruto asks as he steps through the door. Yes, get in here and sit down. Tsunade says as she points to the chair in front of her desk. Naruto does as he's told and sits in the chair across from her. What is it, Ba-chan? Stop calling me that. Anyways, the details of your mission are in this scroll. You will be heading towards an island north of the border for a scouting mission. Rumor has it there is a newer clan in the northern land of fire. I want you to investigate it and bring back any intel you can gather. It's going to be an S-ranked mission, so keep quiet about it and only relay this information to your teammates once you've left the village. You are welcome to read the scroll by yourself, but only in your home alone. Got it? Naruto nods. There was something else? Yes, that's one thing I called you here for. The second reason is that you will have a new teammate to replace Sasuke. Naruto groans. Oh god. Wait, let me guess, we're getting a Chunin from the class before mine? This better be good. Oh stop, and no. No one from the previous class is joining your team. I think you'll actually like your new teammate. Your new teammate will be one that you are already quite close to. Ino. What? His jaw dropped. You heard me. Your girlfriend is part of your squad. But what about the Ino Shikacho? How are you going to? Naruto spouted off. I've already dealt with that. Ino's cousin Inomi will take her place. Naruto couldn't keep his jaw from hitting the floor. After a few moments, the blonde finally managed to regain his composure. So does she know about the team changes? He raises a brow. Not yet. You will be the one to tell her. Tsunade says objectively. Alright, I'll let her know. Naruto says with a nod, turning to walk out of the door. Oh, wait, and Naruto? She catches him before he opens the door. Tsunade throws a black vest at him. You have been promoted to Chunin rank for your completion of the Sasuke retrieval mission. Tsunade says with a smile. Thank you Ba-chan, I won't let you down. He smiles down at the jacket. Good, because you're up for another promotion soon. We'll talk more about it when you return from this mission. Understood Granny, Naruto says as he walks out the door. With Ino. Ino had managed to make it back home from the shop and was about to open the door to her house when she heard a voice call out her name. Ino. Ino turns around, trying to figure out who called her name. She looked through the crowd to find Sakura running up to her. Sakura? Hey, what's up? Ino asked, putting her key down. I wanted to see if you knew where Naruto was. Sakura says, slightly out of breath. So of all the days you could have picked, you picked the last one before I came to drag you to him. Honestly Sakura, I would have never pegged you as the procrastinator type. Ino mused. Yeah, enough with the smartass remarks. What are we, 7 years old now? Never mind that. Where is he? Sakura groaned. He's in Lady Tsunade's office right now. But he should be done soon. You might be able to meet up with him if you hurry. When Sakura heard this, she wasted no time getting there. She hopped across roofs and at some point, interrupted Kakashi's reading session while he was sitting outside of a comic store. He just looked at her and shook his head after she tripped over his foot, did a little roll and kept going until she reached the Hokage's tower. She waited by the main door outside for a few minutes, watching other ninja exit the building until finally it opened, revealing Naruto packing away his mission scroll in a seal on his arm, and then zipping on his new vest. Sakura then called out to catch his attention. Naruto. Huh? Oh Sakura. Hey what's up? He says, scratching the back of his head. There was an unsettling silence between the two and Naruto was first to break it. Sakura? Naruto. See, can we talk? Yeah sure. You're my teammate after all. What is it? I'm sorry. What? Naruto, I said I'm sorry. For what? Naruto, the day you came back. I'm sure you remember it, right? Sakura asked. Naruto thinks back and then nods. I understand why you reacted the way you did. Not gonna tell you that it didn't hurt though. Look, I'm sorry. I'm sorry I acted the way that I did. I'm sorry for everything I put you through. I'm sorry I didn't come to you sooner. Sakura was tearing up. I shouldn't have snapped on you about Sasuke and I was out of line and… Within seconds Naruto's arms were around her as she cried out. She felt truly terrible for what she made Naruto go through, and he recognized that. I was never mad at you Sakura. Never. If anything I was worried that you'd still be mad at me. Ino-chan said otherwise, but I still had my doubts. Looks like I was wrong Sakura. After a couple more moments, the two friends broke the embrace. Sakura had some questions and she'll be damned if he doesn't answer them. So Naruto, you finally made Chunin. I'm proud of you. I also noticed you dropped the chan off my name and gave it to Ino. Care to explain how you managed to get a hold of Ino Pig's heart? Sakura says with a shit-eating grin. Naruto swears Sakura is hiding her killer intent behind this. We'll have plenty of time to discuss that on our next mission in the morning. The whole team is going. We leave in the morning, so meet me at the northern gate. I'll explain everything then, Naruto says as he makes a hand sign and puffs away. Sakura sighs. Her job was finished. She did what she didn't have to. But she felt it was needed if she was going to get out of her funk that she was in. Mission accomplished I guess, Sakura says to herself as she heads home to prepare for her mission. Naruto was on his way back to Ino. The new Team 7 had a mission. And Ino had to get ready quickly. Naruto was jumping across roofs, careful to avoid Sakura's. Their roof always collapsed. He was a few feet from the shop before he called out to Ino as she was leaving. Ino-chan. Ino turns her gaze to the incoming figure. Oh Naru-kun, what are you doing here? Ino asked. Team 7 has a mission that starts tomorrow morning. Naruto huffed out as he tried to catch his breath. Okay, but what does that have to do with me? Other than saying goodbye to me for a while. Ino questions. Oh yeah, Tsunade Ba-chan told me that you've been reassigned to Team 7. Isn't that great? Ino's face lit up with joy but was then crushed. But what about Team 10? What about Ino Shikacho? Don't worry princess, she is having your cousin replace you. I think it was? Naruto said. This statement made Ino fall on the ground laughing. Oh Kami. Haha, that's a good one, Naruto. But seriously? Ino looked up to see how serious Naruto's face looked. Oh, you weren't joking. But why am I being reassigned? Ino asked. We are down by one squad member. And Grandma Tsunade chose you. Naruto explains. Oh, well, all I can say is that Shika and Choji are going to have a tough time with her. Ino joked. Why is that? She's a more violent version of me. Almost practically my twin. The only difference is really our levels of violence and our hair color. But that doesn't matter. Ino trailed off. After a few moments of silence, Naruto spoke up. We leave tomorrow morning. Get some rest and pack as much as you can. We might be gone a while. I'll tell you the details of our mission on our way there. Naruto said as he planted a kiss on his girlfriend's cheek. Just as Naruto was about to bolt away, Ino called out to him. Congrats on making Chunin, Naru-kun. Thanks dear, he shouts as he's bolting back to his apartment. 3 hours later, in Naruto's mindscape, transformation complete, the fox growled. What? Naruto asked, clearly confused. Your eyes, human. I have completed their transformation. Kurama said. Now leave me. I want to rest. Naruto's head shot up off his pillow, his eyes were burning. He rushed to his sink and started to wash them out, relieving the pain. After a few moments, Naruto rubbed his eyes and looked up into the mirror. Gone were his red Sharingan eyes that were given to him. His eyes now were glowing purple with a ripple pattern. The Rinnegan. So this is what pervy sage spoke of. I must go and see Lady Tsunade. Naruto exclaims as he throws on some clothes, running to the Hokage's office where Tsunade was passed out. Lady Tsunade was not the heaviest sleeper. But with the right amount of sake, she could be the heaviest sleeper in existence. She was indeed passed out on her desk, face down on some paperwork. Bottle in one hand and a pen in the other. But nothing could prepare her for possibly the worst awakening in her life. Slam! Grandma Tsunade! Naruto yelled. The Senin's head shot off her desk, throwing the bottle directly at Naruto. Only for him to repel it. Shinra Tensei, Naruto says as the bottle flies back at the wall. Whoa, that's new, Naruto thought. Naruto Yubaka, why are you up so late, and what the hell did you do to that bottle? Tsunade yells as she stares at Naruto, only to realize something was off about him. Wait, those eyes. I've seen. Gasped that orphan kid. This is the Rinnegan. Tsunade's mind was threatening to explode until she got a handle on them. Naruto, go back home. Rest while you can before your mission. When you come back, I will discuss this with you and the council. Understood? Hi, Naruto says, but can you do something for me? What is that? Tsunade questions. Make the burning go away. Please? Naruto begged. I'm sorry Naruto, but that is something only the fox can deal with. I can't mess with something of this caliber. If I do anything, you could go blind. Naruto sighs, maybe it will go away after a little more rest. He says, walking back to his home. A few minutes later Naruto was back in his bed, fast asleep. 8 hours later. Bang bang bang. Naruto's head shot off his pillow. Naruto Yubaka, it's 10. Oh, we were supposed to leave 3 hours ago. Damn it, Naruto said looking at his clock. Hold on Sakura, I need to get dressed. Naruto literally hops into his clothes and throws his bag onto his back just as Naruto's door flies open. Naruto, you. Okay, let's go. Naruto says, walking out his door. Ino is waiting at the gate. Let's get going. It's not polite to keep your girlfriend waiting. Sakura teased. Guess not. Naruto says as he hops across roofs, making his way to the main gate. Naruto as usual was excited that he got to see his girlfriend today, but his happiness was shot down once he saw Ino glaring at him, a single tick mark on her forehead. Naru-kun Yubaka, why were you late? Ino yells, hitting Naruto upside the head. I'm sorry Ino-chan, but I didn't sleep well at all. You can thank my sealed friend for that. He says, glaring at where his seal was. You think that is a legitimate excuse? The two females exploded. Actually when it has something to do with my eyes. Naruto says, flashing his eyes at the two kunoichi. Naruto, your eyes. What happened? The pink-haired girl asked. We need to get going. I'll explain the mission details after I explain my eyes. Naruto says. Hi. With that, the three ninja jumped into the trees and starts to make their way south. Meanwhile, sir, who should we gather next? The masked figure pondered for a moment. I have a couple in mind. There is a rogue ninja from the hidden fog village. His name is Kumoru. While you are doing that, I will fetch someone not too far from me. Itachi Uchiha. The figure says, giving a look that screams killer intent. Hi sir. Will be done? The woman turns to leave only to be stopped. He will not be an easy one to capture. Nor convince. Be very cautious and take Sasori and Kisame with you. HN. The woman walks out, leaving the masked man to his thoughts. Project Tasuki no Mi will begin shortly. Then, this world will end in flames. Back with Squad 7. The trio had decided to make camp not too far from their objective. After a few minutes of eating in silence, Sakura decided to speak up. So are you going to tell us about your eyes? Sigh. I guess there's no better time than now. Alright, I'll tell you. Naruto says. Okay, so the whole thing with my eyes is a not so complicated mess. You know how I got the Sharingan from him? Naruto says, putting more emphasis on him. Yes, but what does that? Ino was cut off. I was just getting to that. Well, there are ways of achieving the eyes that I have. 1. You have Senju chakra, like me, and have some Uchiha in you. Or 2. You have them implanted. That's what the pervy sage told me anyways. Not sure I got that right, but I'm rolling with it. So does this change anything? About how you fight or anything? Sakura asked. From what I understand, it should, but it will have to be tested once this mission is over. I've already used one weird jutsu since I've had these eyes, but I'm not exactly sure how I did it. All I know is that when Grandma Tsunade threw her sake at me, it went flying away. Whoa, this should be an interesting conversation with Lady Tsunade. Sakura thought. So you never really explained the mission to us, Naruto-kun. Ino reminded. Naruto nods. Well, to keep things simple, there is apparently a new clan in the Land of Fire, and we've been sent to investigate. Quote, do we know anything about them? Sakura questions. No, which is why we were sent to investigate. Naruto explains. We should probably get to sleep. Naruto says. Sakura, you take the first watch. Then me, then Ino. However, just in case. Sealing jutsu, privacy barrier. Naruto says, running through hand seals. The seal barrier went up and the trio prepared for the night. Sakura stayed in her ninja outfit because she had first watch. The two blondes in the group curled up to each other and fell asleep after a few kisses here and there. Sakura, giving a slightly jealous look, as the two blondes slept. A few hours later, Naruto was woken by Sakura. He gave her a nod and then sat himself up against a tree with Ino's head in his lap. She looks so peaceful. Naruto thinks. You two are cute, ya know. Sakura says. Yeah, I guess we are. Hee. Just try not to get too touchy. You know how she is. Sakura warns. Oh, I know. Trust and believe. Now get some sleep. I'm not sure if we'll have to fight or not. Naruto says. Sakura can only nod before she passes out. Meanwhile, Naruto decides he's going to have a talk with Kurama to entertain himself. Mindscape. Yo Kurama. No response. Kurama. Calm down, human. I want to ask you something. Kurama growls. What do you want now? Why did you give me the Rinnegan? Wouldn't I have been fine with the Sharingan? I'm afraid it's far more complicated than that. A figure said, floating a few feet from the two. Who's there? Naruto calls out. Don't worry, I bring you no harm. Though you should respect elders, I must say. Who are you? I am the Raikodu Sennin. Or as your history books say, the Sage of Six Paths. Naruto's jaw dropped. The Sage of Six Paths was standing right in front of him. Father? No. Impossible. I saw you die. The fox said, clearly not believing the man in front of him was his father. You are correct, my son. I am dead. But right now I am merely just chakra. So why did you come to me? I mean, what are you here? Naruto asks. I come with a warning. A warning? What do you mean? There is a dark force coming. One that will cause chaos in this world. I cannot say much about it though. The main reason I am here is because of your Rinnegan. The reason you have it is not because of my son here, it is because of me. I used what chakra I had left in order to give you this power to defend yourself. Well, thanks Mr. Sage. I want to ask you a question. Is that okay? The sage nods. Well, I want to know why things sometimes fly away from me when they are about to hit me. I'm not really sure how to explain it. Naruto says. Ah yes, that would be your diva path. The path that can manipulate gravitational forces. It gives you the power to repel or attract enemies. Though this is only one of 6. He explains. So you mean that there are more abilities? Hi, Another one of these abilities is part of the animal path, which allows you to summon a wide variety of animals. That makes sense, I guess. But what about my summoning contract with the toads? Naruto queries. Well, in all honesty, I'm not sure. Summoning contracts weren't very popular for those with the Rinnegan. I see. So you said there are 6 different powers, right? So what are the other 4? The other 4 paths are the Asura path, which allows you to summon mechanized armor and weapons. The human path will grant you the power to read one's mind by placing your hand on said person, and yanking their soul from them. This will kill the person, but it will provide you with intelligence that said being had. The next path is, well, more defensive in nature. The next path is the Preta path. This allows you to absorb chakra in any form. Essentially, you will be able to absorb any ninjutsu that is thrown at you. You can also absorb the chakra of a person just by touching them as well. Naruto was very joyful. Wait, so you mean that I can take someone out just by touching them? Cool. Pipe down, boy. Let me finish. The last path is the Naraka path. This has 2 abilities. Like the human path, the Naraka path is useful for gaining information. The first ability of the Naraka is to be able to restore using the King of Hell. Basically, it's a giant head that you can walk into and it will heal you. However, with my son's healing powers, you won't need it for that. Now the second ability is interrogation. Basically, all you need to do is subdue the person, and ask questions while the king is present, and after answers are given, the statue will pass judgment. If they speak the truth they will live, yet be very exhausted. However, if they lie, the sage was cut off. They will die. Precisely. Now I haven't got much time left, the sage says. The glowing means that it'll be gone. So let's answer any last questions before I go, the sage says. Hi, I only have one question. You said dark forces. Can you elaborate on that? Unfortunately I cannot. While I am the Raikodu Sennin, I am still not able to tell what the future holds specifically. The sage says as the glowing gets brighter. Looks like it's time to go. Until we meet again, Naruto. The sage was gone. Naruto wasn't sure what he was supposed to say. He will have to bring this up during the council meeting. Not long after he left his mindscape, he woke Ino for her watch. Ino-chan, wake up. It's your watch. Grr. But Naru-kun, she whispers in a whining tone. She stopped complaining after Naruto had kissed her, which she gladly accepted. Minutes later Ino was sat up while Naruto was asleep with his head in her lap while Ino ran her fingers through his hair. The next morning had come. Naruto was asleep next to Ino while she had talked with Sakura. Lady Tsunade didn't give them any time constraints, so the two had decided to leave him be for now. So what is he like? Sakura asks. What do you mean? Ino says, slightly confused. Sakura sighs. Okay, let's start with this. Does he treat you right? Of course he does. He actually spoils me. Probably the best boyfriend I've ever had. I see, Sakura says. Does he act the slightest bit different? Yeah, no, maybe a little less annoying than normal? Actually he does, but that doesn't stop him from being loud all the time. That's kinda what I meant. Sakura sweat drops. Meanwhile in the hidden leaf. Why have you summoned us, Hokage-sama? Shikaku asks. Pipe down. Now, I have summoned the council here today, because I have rather interesting news. Well, what is it? One of the elders asked. A couple of nights ago, Naruto busted into my office. Now what I am going to say is not to leave this room. Am I clear? Tsunade questions. Crystal. Choza says while others nod. Very well. When Naruto busted into my office, my defensive instincts took over and I threw something at him. Before I could recognize who it was, the object was repelled by a weird jutsu. Just get to your point, Princess Tsunade. Danzo calls out. Tsunade glares at him, sending a massive wave of killer intent. The village has gained a new powerful set of eyes that will surpass even the Uchiha clan's Sharingan. And Naruto has it. What are you talking about, milady? Asked one of the civilians. Anyone here ever hear about the legendary Rinnegan? Whispers were heard around the room. I can tell you for sure that I've seen them. Twice, now after seeing Naruto. When was the first time? Inoichi asked. During one of the Great Wars, Jiraiya, Orochimaru and I ran into 3 orphans. Their names were Conan, Yahiko, and Nagato. Nagato had the Rinnegan. Jiraiya had told me and Orochimaru to go on ahead, while he stayed behind with them and trained them to be able to defend themselves. Since then, we haven't heard from or about any of them. Everyone in the room nodded in understanding. For a few moments, the room was filled with silence. So where is the Uzumaki boy at now? Choza asks. Right now he is headed to the southern part of the Land of Fire on an S-class mission. Tsunade replies. However, she continued, there is one other reason I have called you here. As you know, Naruto returned to the village about 1 month ago. However, there was some news that was quite shocking. One of the civilian council members spoke up. Just get on with it. Tsunade sent a wave of killer intent, shutting the man up. Whether it be a good thing or not. Jiraiya, the Toad Sage and Uchiha Sasuke, are dead. Everyone except Inoichi, Ms. Haruno, and Tsunade were shocked. Various words were spoken. What do you mean Lord Uchiha is dead? He couldn't have been taken down. No one is strong enough to take down Lord Uchiha, exclaimed Demara of the civilian council. That Uchiha was nothing short of a traitor. Shikaku says, cutting the man off. What about Lord Jiraiya? The Haruno asked. He died as a result of Sasuke Uchiha's attack. A Chidori to the heart to be specific. The Hokage replied. And Sasuke? Tsunade knew that her answer would set the civilian council members off. So she was as blunt as possible. After seeing Jiraiya fall, Naruto temporarily lost control over the Nine Tails. There was barely anything left of him. Just as she predicted, the civilian council had an uproar. No, this is unacceptable. I want that demon executed. Avenge the Uchiha. Put that thing to death. Banish him. Inoichi was seething. Sit down and shut the hell up. He yells, how long will it take you to realize that he is not the demon? If he was, he would not be dating my daughter. At this outburst, Inoichi had shut the council up and had everyone's eyes on him. You dumbass civilians failed to recognize the difference between a container and the contained. As a matter of fact, from everything I have been told by him, and everything that Uzumaki Naruto has shown me is evidence enough. Evidence enough for what, Inoichi? Tsunade spoke. Half of the civilian council's execution. This statement struck everyone in the room like a line drive to the head with a softball. And we all know that softballs are the complete opposite of soft. What do you mean, Inoichi? Danzo asks. Inoichi began to explain everything Naruto had told him. Flashback no jutsu. 3 weeks ago, Yamanaka residence. Naruto had walked over to see if Inoichi had any idea what he should get Ino for her birthday. Little did he know, Inoichi had a few questions for him. Knock knock. Ah, hello Naruto-san. What brings you here? You know that Ino is at the shop right now, right? He says. Yes sir, and I actually have a question to you. Really? Well, I guess I can say the same thing. Come in, sit down, I just made some tea. He says, inviting Naruto to come in. Grabbing the tea and handing Naruto a cup before sitting down, he asks, so, what do you want to know? I actually need help figuring out what I should get for Ino-chan's birthday. I figured you would know. Of course, I'd be happy to help. Here's a hint. Necklaces. The man said. Really? That's simple, Yeah, though make sure you keep the color green out of it. She hates green. Gotcha. So what is it you wanted to talk to me about, Yamanaka-san? Naruto asks. Yes, right. Well, I heard about some of your past through my daughter, during that talk of ours I mentioned before you two went out that night. I must say, you are really strong to have made it this far. I've seen the scars, both mental and physical. Compared to the stuff I see in the T&I department, your experiences are among the worst I've seen. You truly are a strong man. I want to thank you for taking care of my daughter. Thank you. It means a lot coming from you. I may not be able to forgive the civilians for what they've done to me. I know that some of the Civi Council was involved. All of those scars will be with me for the rest of my life. I would have said something about it to Lord Third, but I couldn't say anything though because no one would have believed me. But it's all in the past. They don't matter to me anymore. Naruto rambles on before a silence ran through the room. Well, I've gotta go and get Ino-chan's present. Naruto says as he walks out, giving a 2-finger salute. That Naruto is really something. But someone must be told. Flashback ends. So is my explanation enough? No, because right now, everything would be hearsay. Inoichi says. You are correct, but we will hear Naruto's side of this. She says, glaring at the civilian council members, clearly feeling Tsunade's killer intent. Even then, is the proof enough? Danzo asks. You'll believe when you see. In a megacure. Conan, have you brought him? Panting, no, I'm sorry. There was nothing I could do. He's stronger than pain. Forgive me? Conan says as she falls to a knee. I told you not to underestimate him. The masked man yells. He's currently fuming. So he's stronger than me, is he? A figure appears, purple eyes glowing. Perhaps I shall go and see what this man is capable of. What do you think, Lord Uchiha? No, I will handle this myself. Are you sure that he's worth the trouble? I mean, come on. We just sent Conan out there and she's barely alive. The Uchiha didn't answer. He just gave a HN and left the room. Lord Uchiha, you are about as stupid as that Jinchuriki you chase. Thought Nagato. He's going to get himself killed. He failed to capture the One-Tails, and thinks he can do things on his own. If he goes for his main target, he has no chance. Deidara says. Back with the Naru and Nosaku squad. The next morning came and the trio had packed up their camp, taken down their privacy barrier, and continued on their hunt for the next 5 minutes before Naruto had sensed a chakra signature up ahead. Stop, now, Naruto orders. Why? What, did you sense something? Ino asked. Shush. Naruto had indeed sensed something with his Rinnegan. It was a female kunoichi with incredible chakra reserves. Whoa, what is it? Sakura asks impatiently. Kunoichi, 12 o'clock, half a mile out. Incredible amount of chakra. It seems like she doesn't know we are here. Let's get as close as we can without being discovered. Naruto says. Hi, let's go. Within a few moments, they were standing a dozen yards away from the female, keeping their chakra masked as best as they could. However, this didn't seem to go unnoticed. What the hell are they doing? The kunoichi asks herself. Oh well, time to find out, she tells herself, throwing a kunai into the bushes where Naruto was hiding. You can stop trying to hide. Honestly, I've seen better hiding from academy students than you. All three of you come out now. She says. No response. Not doing it willingly, Sigh, oh well. Universal pull. The trio found themselves being dragged into the clearing in front of the kunoichi. All three of them, having looks of Naruto, figured out what this jutsu was connected to. How did you sense us? Ino asks, looking up, clearly shocked. Please, I sensed you from 1 mile away. Honestly, are all you hidden leaf shinobi that stupid? She asks them. Who are you? Naruto asks the woman. I should be asking you the same? And why are you on the Rinne clan's territory? Rinne clan? Naruto questions the kunoichi. This was the first full view of the woman he had gotten. She was clad in a black and purple outfit, much like Sakura's. She wore a headband with a symbol resembling the Rinnegan on it. Her hair was mid-back length and dark blue. Almost like that Uchiha. Naruto, don't tell her anything. Sakura says, a look of worry in her eyes. After a few moments of silence, Naruto spoke up. We were sent here by the Hokage on a reconnaissance mission. We had received reports of a new clan or tribe being set up here. Naruto explains. Naruto Yubaka, I told you. Well, I'm sorry to disappoint you three, but your intel is only half right. This clan has existed since before the Third Great Ninja War. Now get up off the ground. You three are coming with me. What, you want to know more? You go through our leader first. The three had no choice. The full extent of her power was unknown. The kunoichi had noticed that Naruto's eyes were clearly almost the same as hers, but was not going to say anything about it yet. As the 4 shinobi made it to the gates, the Leaf Trio discovered that this city was absolutely amazing. It had tall buildings like Aim, sandy grounds like Suna, weird-shaped houses like Kumo. In short, it was beautiful. How have you managed to keep this place hidden? I mean, with buildings like this, how could you miss it? Everything will be explained after you speak with Lady Tsubaki. Now stop talking and stay silent until she asks you a question. The woman spat. Hi. The trio reply, following their guide closely as they were getting stares while walking through the city. Especially Naruto. Within a matter of minutes, the 4 of them were in a building similar to the Hokage's tower, standing in front of a woman at her desk. The woman couldn't be older than 30, and her eyes are what stuck out the most. The Rinnegan shone brightly. Her hair was bright blue and came down to her shoulders. Her outfit was much like Tsunade's from what was visible. Again, the only difference was the color. Purple and black. Who have you brought to me, Menowari? Who are these outsiders? The woman asked. Lady Tsubaki, I found them scouting outside the walls. They were sent by the Leaf. Sent by the Leaf You, blonde boy, come forward. Tsubaki orders. Naruto complies, while the other 2 are on a knee, looking at the ground, sneaking glances at Naruto. Who are you? She asks, eyeing the boy. I am Naruto Uzumaki. What about Blondie over there? Tsubaki says, obviously pointing at Ino, who at the time wasn't too disturbed by the nickname. That would be Ino Yamanaka, ma'am. And Pinky over there? Sakura wants to glare at the woman. She hates that name. Sakura Haruno. Naruto answers. Now that that's out of the way, please, Blondie, Pinky, stand and come to forward. Menowari, you may go. Hi, Lady Tsubaki, she says, leaving the room. Naruto, I have some questions for you, if you don't mind. Depending on what I can give you an answer. Very well. First question, is what Menowari said true? That you were on a reconnaissance mission? Yes, that is true. The Hokage sent us to check out the reports of a new clan. Naruto explains. Okay, for my next question, how do you have the level 3 Rinnegan? No one outside this village is supposed to have them. So I've noticed. You have them, and I'm guessing your shinobi have them as well. Well, I'll make it short, and because I feel I can trust you, I'll tell you a couple of other things. Naruto says, earning a nod from the woman. I have the Rinnegan because the Raikodu Sennin paid me and the nine-tailed fox a visit. Everyone's jaw had dropped. What? When did this happen, Naru-kun? Ino questioned. Last night actually. I went into my seal to ask the Nine Tails why he gave me the Rinnegan. But the sage interrupted him. As for why, I will not say until I speak with the Hokage. This earns a nod from the older woman. Now if I may ask a few questions, ma'am? Naruto says. Go ahead. How do you all have the Rinnegan, and what did you mean by a stage 3 Rinnegan? Naruto asks. Tsubaki took a deep breath. This was going to be a long story. Sigh. Well, I guess this would be expected to someone to have a brand new Rinnegan. I trust that the Raikodu Sennin told you of its powers, Naruto? Hi, he did. Very well. Well, what I meant by a stage 3 is that our eyes go from 1 ring to 2 rings to 3. It is almost self-explanatory. As for how we all have the Rinnegan, well, no one really knows why, but the founder of this clan was Shiken Rinne as far as we know. Quote, that's kinda weird, Ibeo. How so? The woman asks. My sensei said that he had a student who possessed the Rinnegan. One like yours? Tsubaki says, staring at him, analyzing him. Hi, Naruto confirmed. The woman stood up from her desk and called for one of her subordinates. Yamato Ito. Her voice booms, almost louder than Tsunade's. The door busts open as a tall male about 6 feet 3 rushes in, kunai drawn. Lady Tsubaki? Yes, I called you here. Now listen up. I need you to take these 3 on a tour around the clan. After you do that, bring them back. I have a message for the Hokage they can take back. Hi Tsubaki-sama. Yamato Ito turns to the trio in the room. Tsubaki leans back in her chair and begins to think. So he's a Jinchuriki too. I wonder how she will take this. However, once the Leaf hears we have a Jinchuriki, they'll want it in their village. Which is good. I can't risk these so-called Akatsuki to get her. We've stayed hidden this long. It is time to reveal ourselves to the world. With the tour. So your name is Yamato Ito? Right? Ino asks. Hi, and you guys are? Ino, Sakura, Naruto. Everyone replies with their respective names. Ah, thanks for clearing that up. He says, giving the girls a wink. Naruto sees this and says, watch it. Ino is mine. Sakura, well, you can try, but try too hard and you're gonna need a hospital. He says, sweat dropping. Yamato chuckled at this. Well, since you 3 introduced yourselves, it's only fair that I do the same, even though you already know mine. I'll tell you again. He says, turning to face them. My name is Yamato Ito Rinne, and I'm Lady Tsubaki's left-hand man. Well, it's nice to meet you. Sakura says. Likewise. Now, if you look to your left, you will see the clan head's home. AKA, Lady Tsubaki's home. Yamato continued to show the trio around, telling them some of the history, and stealing occasional glances at Sakura. When Yamato was done, he offered a meal to them before they left. Only thing he worried about was running into her. A few minutes more of touring the clan and some boring moments where Yamato hits on Sakura and a lot Naruto and Ino's nerves later, the squad was on their way to the exit. But as fate soul have it, Yamato's luck wouldn't be on his side. Smack, and don't come back again, demon. Slam. The contact from the punch could be heard for blocks, and the slam, well. Let's just say he might need a new door. But that last word, demon, that word struck a nerve for Naruto. His last nerve. Yamato seemed to cringe as Naruto released a huge wave of killer intent. "I'd know that phrase anywhere." Naruto growls. "I knew I noticed something familiar about her chakra." Kurama says, head raised and ears perked up. "It's the Saiken. She's the Jinchuriki of the Rokubi." Kurama says, almost excitedly. "Oh no. This is not good. Just like when he was little." Ino thought. "Naruto-kun?" Naruto turns to the girl laying on the ground and starts running to help her. "No, don't go near that girl." Yamato Ito calls out to him as he runs to catch up. But it was all pointless as Naruto had reached his destination. "Hey, you alright?" Naruto asks, offering the girl a hand. "Go away." She says, "I don't want your help." She says, getting up to go over to the wall and plop back down. Naruto, however, despite her words, had followed her. "We may not want the help, but it is needed. I feel that we aren't so different. I've heard that word the man called you. I know it all too well and what it does to people like us." "You don't mean?" "Yes, I'm a Jinchuriki. I've been called a demon for as long as I can remember." Naruto says as Ino, Sakura and Yamato Ito came up behind him. The girl took a moment to gather what she had just been told until the man above her held out a hand. "If Lady Tsubaki hears about this, I'm a dead man," the man thought to himself. But it was too late. Tsubaki had already known about the encounter as it happened. She appeared in front of the group. Yamato's eyes went wide. "Yamato Ito Rinne. My office now." Tsubaki yells, causing the group to flinch, Yamato more so before he shunshined away. Uzumaki Naruto, Haruno Sakura, Yamanaka Ino, and Lily Rinne. "Leave the city now." "What?" the four yell out. "Lady Tsubaki, why are you telling me to go?" There a minute of silence before Tsubaki motioned for the four to come closer. "Trust and believe, I'm not mad, despite how I sent Yamato away. But as Mr. Uzumaki here knows, the Akatsuki are coming for the tailed beasts, and it's only a matter of time before they come here and discover us," she says in her most convincing tone. Naruto ran these thoughts through his head. Only, something didn't add up. "Wait, so you mean that you actually planned this entire meeting out? You wanted us to take Lily-san in the first place?" Naruto says, almost in a question tone. "Yes, but I had to let another Jinchuriki find her before she made Chunin. Plus knowing the Leaf, they would love to have another Jinchuriki. And as you can see, it worked out in the clan's favor." Tsubaki says. "One question though, I already know the answer, but I want to hear it from you, Leader-san." Ino says. "And what would that be?" Tsubaki asked. "What makes you think she'll leave willingly?" Ino questions the older female. "She's right. This may be a horrible place, but it is still my home." Lily says, giving a pout. "Why would you call this place home? After everything you've been through? And you can't tell me that you are not treated as bad as I saw." Naruto says. "I've seen enough to know that you have been treated just as badly as I. You can't tell any of us about not having any scars. Because most of us Jinchuriki do. Except for the Shukaku Jinchuriki, he's a tough bastard." He finishes with a chuckle. Lily opens her mouth but nothing comes out. Naruto was right, but then again. But a few moments later his tone drops as he turns to Tsubaki. "Why didn't you take her in? You knew how she is treated. A law passed by the second Rinne clan council says that we can't do anything about our Jinchuriki except to reseal it." Tsubaki states. "But starting today, I'm nullifying that law and she is to leave with you. Also make sure to give that scroll to the Hokage. My ancestors will be happy to know their dreams are about to come true." Naruto nods and turns to Lily. "I'll give you 90 minutes to pack up and say your goodbyes." "No need, I don't have anyone left here," she says, looking down. Naruto puts his hand on her shoulder. "Don't worry, you won't be alone anymore," he says as he gives the clan leader a gaze. "Is there anything else?" "No, just make sure she's kept safe." "Hi, she will be," Naruto says as he turns to the rest of his team. "Well, let's get going then. Tsunade Ba-chan is expecting us back soon. Let's go then," Sakura says as she kicks off and heads back towards the Leaf Village. Sakura led the way while Ino and Naruto hung back with Lily. Naruto couldn't tell, but something was off about Sakura. Something about her was a little off and Ino noticed it. A few hours later Naruto spoke up and announced that a break was in order. Well, more like stopping for the night, but you get the point. The group had set up camp and were now sitting around a fire. Sakura, occasionally stealing a few glances at Naruto, didn't go unnoticed by Ino. Around midnight, Sakura had woken Ino for her watch. Great, now I can figure out why she's been stealing looks at Naruto. Ino thought as she prepared to use her mind transfer jutsu. However, as she was getting ready to use it, her hand was grabbed. What the he? Why? The voice said. Have you not noticed how she's been looking at you this whole time? Ino asks. Yes, I'm fully aware of what Sakura has been doing. But that doesn't mean you should invade her privacy. I'll talk to her in the morning, okay? Naruto says, letting her hand go after a soft kiss. Okay, but let me know what's going on when you are done. Ino says, I will. Good night. I love you, she says, squeezing his hand as he lays down. I love you too, Ino-chan. The next morning, Naruto had watched as the sun came up. Today was the day they would arrive back at the village. Today was also the day that he had to speak to Sakura. Ino, had to know why she'd been acting different. The more Naruto thought about it, the more he started to realize that she was acting a bit more like Hinata. His thoughts were interrupted when Sakura came up next to him. They stood there for a moment and Sakura broke the silence. Why did you want to talk to me? She asks. Why have you been stealing looks at me? Naruto asks ever so casually. What are you talking about? Sakura asks, trying to play it off. Don't play dumb, you know exactly what I'm talking about. Do you have something to tell me? Sakura looks down. Well, I guess it's now or not at all, but he's with Ino. Oh Kami, how do I tell him? Sakura gave a sigh before she responds, I like you. Well, I knew that. No, Naruto-kun. I mean more than just a friendly like. I mean, Sakura gets cut off. You love me, don't you? This whole time? Naruto inquires. Yes, that day that you came back my mother helped me realize that I was blindly chasing Sasuke, and completely leaving you out of the equation. She helped me realize that you had done everything I ever asked, even saved me a few times, while Sasuke didn't give a single damn. Sakura says. Meanwhile in the hidden leaf. Lady Tsunade, the elders would like to speak with you. It seemed urgent. Shizune says as she walks through the door. What now? Wasn't yesterday enough? She says, slamming a fist on her desk. Send them in. The two elders walked in as if on cue. Lady Tsunade, we have a matter we need to discuss with you. In regards to the Nine Tails Jinchuriki. What about him? The cage asked. You said that he possesses the Rinnegan. If this is true, we will need more. The elder says. And we will. So what point are you trying to make? Tsunade asks. We want the boy to be in the CRA. With some restrictions of course. Kaharu spoke. Why would I agree to enforce that act on him? And what restrictions? Normally we would choose who he marries, but we are feeling rather generous. Danzo says, stepping into the room. So let me guess, he can pick who he marries, she guesses. Precisely. How many wives? Tsunade says calmly, trying not to lose her temper. At least 3. Danzo says. Also, I would like to add that all 3 will be placed under Anbu security. For obvious reasons. I see. When Naruto comes back, I'll summon the council. 1. So you can hear his side of the story, which was already planned for. 2. He can be told about the CRA, and 3. So he can reveal his heritage. Tsunade says. No, we will not do that. We cannot reveal his heritage. The elders yelled out. Well, guess what, if you want him in the CRA, then he will learn who his father and mother were. Tsunade says, filling the room with a ton of killing intent. The elders looked amongst themselves before nodding back at Tsunade. If that is all, then you are dismissed. Except for you, Danzo, she says almost hissing. The other 2 elders walked out while Danzo stood at the desk. Tsunade wanted to know what Danzo was planning and she was going to find out. Returning home. Why did you want to speak with me, Tsunade? You know I'm still quite busy. Tsunade's eyes narrowed at the man. Do not lie to me. I know you have something planned and you can't say you don't. Whatever it is, I'll find out. I doubt that. Hokage-sama, he says, fading away from view via Shunshin. Whatever it is, I will find out. And if it goes against the will, I'll kill them myself, the Hokage rants to herself. Back with Naruto and Sakura. I just thought you should know. I know that I may have no chance, but at least I got to tell you. Sakura says, standing up and walking away. Naruto had stayed there for another few minutes before Ino came back over. She didn't have time to sit down before he said, she confessed. Ino's eyes widened as she stared into his while she tried to sit down. So that's why. He nods at her. Her mother gave her quite the wake-up call. While we were up on the monument the night I came back, her mother. Knocked some sense into her? Yeah, that. But she realizes that now, she has no chance. There was silence for a minute before Ino stands up and says, "We need to get going. I got a message from Lady Tsunade telling us to hurry up. There is something important needing to be dealt with back home." Naruto raised his brow, but didn't question it. So he stood up and headed back to camp with Ino to start packing things up. "Sakura, Lily, start paw." Ino's voice died in her throat as she walked into the camp to find the two were laying on the ground, a lone figure standing above them. Uchiha Itachi. Naruto cuts in. "You son of a bitch!" He screams. "They aren't dead. Just genjutsu. I wish to speak to you, Naruto," he says, taking a step forward. His Mangekyo Sharingan spinning. Tsukuyomi. Instantly, the three were transported into the dark red world, tied to cross-like posts. "I don't wish to harm you, Naruto, nor do I wish to harm your girlfriend, so stop struggling to get out. I want to thank you," Itachi says. "Thank me? For what?" he asks, slightly confused. Ino had the same look. "For saving my brother. He was headed down a very dark path. Now I'm going to tell you a story. You know what happened all those years ago, involving my clan. Now, sit," he says, releasing the duo and sitting down in front of them. "Tell me what you both know. Then I'll fill in the blanks." Itachi says. "Well, we don't really know much other than the fact you killed all of them except for Sasuke. Ever since then, it's been an S-class secret." Ino says. "That is correct, but allow me to tell you the whole story," Itachi says, lighting a black flame in his hand. Flashback no jutsu. In the Konoha council chambers. Danzo, Lord Third and the two advisors sat in the dimly lit cage office, discussing some rather disturbing matters. The Uchiha clan had been plotting a coup d'état of the Third Hokage's regime, and so far all negotiations were failing. To Danzo, there was only one option from the beginning: kill off the Uchiha. However, the other three had an alternative. The alternative being to use Shisui Uchiha's Mangekyo Sharingan to manipulate the clan into not going through with the coup via Kotoa Matsukami. However, that plan had failed when Shisui died. While their discussion was happening, there was a knock and the four had silenced. "Enter," Hiruzen said. The door slides open to reveal an Anbu shinobi. "You wished to see me, Lord Third?" he asked, kneeling down in front of the table. "Remove your mask, Itachi." He did as instructed and proceeded to remove his mask, then looking into the eyes of the four superiors in the room. "Your report?" Hiruzen asks. "Hi. All negotiations with the Uchiha are done. Right now they are arming themselves and getting ready to have the coup within the week." "Is that all?" the Hokage asked. "Hi. Hiruzen, if I may, our time for peaceful negotiations is now used up. We must get rid of the problem." Danzo says, almost yelling. "There is no need to yell, Shimura, but I agree. If there was to be a coup, civil war would erupt. Then we would not only have a civil war, but the fourth great ninja war. Konoha would be destroyed," the Hokage says. "Then there is only one way to do this. We must kill the Uchiha. All of them," Danzo says, almost demandingly. The third Hokage pondered the thought. He didn't like it, but there was no other way around this problem. It was the only solution. "Itachi. Hi? I understand that we are asking a lot from you, but," Hiruzen was cut off. "I know. And I will do it, for the leaf. Everything I've done is for the best," Itachi says, eyes morphing into the Mangekyo Sharingan. "However, I have a favor to ask." "Yes? What is it?" Homura asks. "I must ask to spare my brother, Sasuke," Itachi says. The elders look amongst each other and no one held any objections. They would need at least one loyal Uchiha. After getting a nod from the four, Itachi stands up and prepares to leave. However, before he walks out he tells the elders, cut all Anbu patrols from that sector for tonight. This nonsense ends tonight. He earns a nod before closing the door behind him. Insert the massacre here. Flashback no jutsu, release. Wait, so you mean that you didn't have a choice but to kill your entire clan? Ino shrieked. That is correct. Now, unfortunately I cannot answer any more questions. I must be leaving, but first. Tsukuyomi, Kai, Itachi says, releasing the genjutsu. Heed my warning, Uzumaki. The Akatsuki will not stop. They are weak right now, but they can still capture you. Itachi warns as he leaves in a flock of crows. Not 5 minutes had passed from that moment when Sakura and Lily had woken up from the genjutsu. Sakura seemed more affected by it than anyone. As she woke up she yelled out, "Naruto-u! almost making Ino go deaf before calming down. Meanwhile, Naruto was busy waking Lily up. She was a little more calm waking up compared to Sakura. Who was that guy? I've never seen him before. Lily asks. His name is Itachi Uchiha. He was responsible for the massacre of the Uchiha clan. Sakura says. There was a silence before Naruto spoke up. He used to have a little brother. Sasuke chased after Itachi for so long trying to get revenge, and the bastard never got it. The group packed up their things in silence and headed back to the village. It didn't take long for them to get back, mainly because Naruto had been double timing it since they spoke with Itachi. As soon as the door to the Hokage's office opened, the group was met by the surrounding of Anbu at the sight of the new visitor. Calmly, Naruto called them off, telling them that the girl was no threat, with Tsunade giving them the nod to back off. However, if some things were not explained, Naruto would be the biggest threat. Tsunade was the first to open her mouth after the Anbu incident moments ago. I think this should be an interesting report. It is, but for now the Anbu should leave. There are a few things I need to say. Naruto says. Very well. Anbu. Leave. Now, Naruto, your report? Hi. We traveled to the southern coast of the Land of Fire and we can confirm that there is a new-ish clan. Unfortunately we were caught. No one was hurt, and we were brought into their village, which, may I say, is beautiful and diverse as ever. We met with their leader and she explained some of the history. But what makes this village amazing is that they all have the Rinnegan. The ninja we have brought back is from the village and her name is Lily Rinne. She is also the Six Tails Jinchuriki. Tsunade had to hold back a gasp but instead gave a slight smile, turning to the girl. Welcome to the Hidden Leaf. I hope you enjoy your time here. Tsunade says. Sakura steps up. You say that like she's only visiting? She tells Tsunade. What are you talking about? She is only visiting. She turns to Naruto, right? No, I am not. My village sent me here for my own safety. Not only because of the Akatsuki, but because of my village's council, Lily explains. Your council? Lily then turns to Naruto. The scroll that Naruto has will explain everything, plus, a favor my clan asks of you. Naruto then takes the scroll out of his pouch and hands it to the Hokage. I will read this as soon as possible. If there's anything more that I should know, now is the time to speak up. There is nothing more to speak of, milady. For once Naruto he didn't miss a detail, Sakura says, earning a glare from both Ino and Tsunade. All right then. If that is all, then all of you are dismissed. Naruto, when the council is ready, I'll have you summoned. As for you, Lily, was it? You'll be living with Naruto until I can get you a separate bunk. The Hokage says, earning a nod from the two Jinchuriki. As the four ninja walked out of the room, Naruto untied his headband and then retied it around his right arm. After walking out of the tower, Sakura split off and headed home. With a sigh, Naruto was the first to speak after getting halfway to his house. I really wish Sakura kept her mouth shut. I really do. Don't get me wrong, I still like her, but grr, Naruto says with a small growl. When Naruto finished dropping off Ino, he led Lily over to his apartment. On the way there, Lily took notice of the scenery change. She noticed it changed from the better parts of village to the lower slums, but she didn't wish to judge anything yet. When they reached his apartment, the two found themselves walking in to see a certain one-eyed sensei looking at a picture of Naruto with Ino. Kakashi-sensei? What are you doing here? The blonde asks. I'm here to warn you about something. I'm not supposed to tell you this, but the council isn't too happy about what happened to Sasuke. I didn't think they would be. Let me guess, they want my head on a platter with nuts? Basically, Tsunade had obviously gone off on them once they said, demon. At the very least, they want you banished from the village. Kakashi replies. But given the new development, I doubt it will happen. Kashi says, hinting at the fact that he now has Rinnegan. Suddenly there was a knock on the door. Anbu. Naruto answers the door. Uzumaki-san, your presence is requested in the council chambers. The Anbu says. Tell them I'll be there in 10. I need to finish something. Naruto responds. And with that, the Anbu vanished. So now comes the time where I leave you. Good luck. Kakashi says, also vanishing. Time to go deal with the council, he says with a sigh. Meanwhile in AIM, where do you think he's at right now? Deidara asks. I don't know, but without our 10th member, we can't really move forward. Conan says. Just then a swirl appeared and a man came out. We will move forward as planned. The figure said. You found our 10th member? Pain asks. Yes, and he will be leading the Akatsuki now. The room was immediately flooded with ki coming off of Pain. Gasps were heard from the other members. What do you mean leading the Akatsuki? Me, Yahiko and Conan were the ones. Who had started this group, not some random S-ranked criminal you picked up on the street. Then there was silence. No one in the room said anything. The other members of the Akatsuki feigned having little emotion, but inside, they were ready to rip this man to shreds. Leave AIM and never come back. We don't need you here any longer for our plans. Now, Nagato, remember what I have against you. The masked figure says, fading out of the room. In the council room, Naruto Uzumaki, please come in. Tsunade says. Seconds later the door opens and Naruto is met with the glares of the civilian council. Typical, he thought as he glared back. Maybe this will be over relatively quickly. Do you know the reason you have been summoned? Tsunade asks him. He slowly shakes his head no, then proceeds to speak. I do not know the reason for the meeting, but judging by the glares of the civies, it's obviously not good. Naruto says, looking behind him. Well, I'm here to let you know what this meeting is for and to keep things orderly. Now what I want you to do is explain the final events of your trip with Jiraiya, and what happened to the Uchiha. Naruto took a moment to compose himself before he spoke. It's quite simple, so don't expect any elaborate explanation. Me and Jiraiya were just outside the border of the Land of Fire. As we were walking I had heard Sasuke's Chidori, but by the time I heard it, it was too late and Jiraiya was dead. When I saw him, the Nine Tails took over. When I came to, he was dying and told me to take these. He says, flashing his Sharingan. Gasps were heard from the civilian council, as none of this was old news, however to the clan heads, this was old news. Silence fell over the room as the civilians processed everything they just heard and seen. One council member spoke up. He just told us what we already know. Plus he doesn't even look sorry about killing Sasuke. You want me to apologize for something I had no control over? Seriously, you are the densest humans I've ever met. Naruto-san, please calm down. Mebuki Haruno says, looking a bit uneasy. Naruto looks at the ground, clenching his fists. He opens his mouth to speak, but before he could one of the council members rang out. Go ahead demon, show us your true colors. No hesitation was taken and no one could react to what Naruto was going to do next. Bansho Tenon. He shouts, left arm raised at the insubordinate and Rinnegan blazing. The guy was forcefully pulled towards Naruto who, when he got a hold of him, had him held up by the neck squeezing tighter every second, the man gasping for air. Attacking a council member is an act of treason, Uzumaki. Danzo warns. Naruto turns around to face the bandaged old hag. While that is true, he is not out of line. Do you forget that the Third's law is still in effect? Inoichi says to the council member. Of course not, I'm merely stating that the consequences of his actions are quite severe. Danzo, glaring between the Uzumaki and the Yamanaka. Enough. Naruto Uzumaki, release the civilian at once. Tsunade shouts. Naruto does as he is told and releases the civi. He deactivates his Rinnegan and looks back at the Hokage. Now that everything is explained, is there anything else you need me here for? He says. Gritting his teeth. Yes, actually there is. I'll let Danzo explain this though, since he proposed this idea. Tsunade says. Naruto looks at Danzo, annoyance clearly shown on his face. So tell me Danzo, what is this idea of yours? Uzumaki-san, the council and Hokage have come to the decision to enact the Clan Restoration Act on you, in order to make sure that the Uzumaki clan prevails. Basically what this does is allows you to have multiple spouses. In your case, at least 3 or 4 wives. We want to be sure that the Rinnegan also exists in Konoha in more than 2 people. He explains. Now before you shut down entirely, we also agreed to let you know the identities of your parents. But only if you accept the proposal. Naruto's eyes widened at the proposal. He was being forced to have a family. He'd always wanted a family. But with 3 different people? How does that even work? On top of that, he would finally know who his parents were. Thought about this for a couple minutes before nodding. Not even Ino-chan knows this, but I've always wanted a family. Living my whole life without one. And my parents, I never knew them. I've wanted to know who they are for so long. I'll accept the proposal, but only on the condition that no one is forced into this, other than me. The elders nodded at him after a look between them showed agreement. Very well. Tsunade-sama, tell him. Danzo says. Your parents were Kushina Uzumaki and Minato Namikaze, the fourth Hokage. Tsunade blurted out, hoping the reaction wasn't too bad. Naruto fell to his knees. The fourth Hokage is my father. Tears started falling from his eyes. The council heard this and went into a worse shock than Naruto did. Some left the room to go curse themselves out for being so stupid. He stayed like this for about 15 minutes, tears still falling freely. He didn't know what to think. What to feel. He should be angry. No, he should be furious. Why did he feel so happy on the inside though? Was it because he was his idol, his second favorite person in the village was his father? Tsunade walked up to him after dismissing the council since they were no longer needed. Kneeling behind him, she put a hand on his shoulder. I wish I could have told you sooner. I wanted to tell you once you got back from your mission, but things got complicated here while you were gone. It's alright, I'm not mad at you. I'm just shocked, he says looking up at the Hokage. Nothing more was said as Tsunade walked him out of the building. She hugged him and told him to go home and take a few days off. He would need them, especially with the Akatsuki still hunting them. Rumors were that they had 3 of the 9 beasts. The 3, 4, and 5 tails were all captured. It was only a matter of time before the next engagement. Pain, can we talk? A figure says, stepping into his office. Of course, Conan. What is it? She played with the ring on her finger before she took it off. I'm leaving the Akatsuki. It's clear that since you were replaced, that all of the others have sided with Kumaru and Madara. Nagato lowered his head. Now none of his dreams, his sensei's dreams would be reality. All of them? With the exception of Itachi. Conan says matter-of-factly. That's good, he says as he retires to his room for the night. He had a lot to think about tonight. Pain laid back on his bed. Everyone had defected from the original Akatsuki. His dream, his sensei's dream, shattered. That bastard Kumaru, ruining everything that was important to him. He then thought of what Conan said. Everyone but Itachi has defected. There were only 2 of them now. The Akatsuki that was once so powerful, so unstoppable was now nothing. There was a knock on the door that brought him out of his thoughts. Come in, he says, sitting upright on his bed. The door opens and Itachi walks in. Sir, I think it's time that I left AIM. There's very little point in staying. I think I might head back to the Leaf Village. He says as HHE starts to remove his cloak. Why go back? They would put you to death the second you set foot in the village. Pain argues. That may be true, but there is nothing left for me in this world. My brother is dead, my friends shunned me and my family, well, they're dead too. So why not? If that is what you wish to do, then I will not stop you. But, perhaps I will come with you. Conan has already left, so there is nothing left here for me. So this is it then? Yes, I suppose it is, Pain says as he takes one last look around the room. The rain seemed to lighten when the 2 ninjas stepped out of the building and soon, it was only soft raindrops that fell from the sky as they left the village. Konoha, 3 days later. The sun rose over the Hokage monument and the village seemed to get busier every minute afterwards. On the outskirts of the village in Training Ground 7, Naruto sat under a tree meditating, trying to calm his nerves, but to no avail. It was only a few days ago, but the memory burned fresh in his mind. The 4th Hokage, the greatest shinobi to live, was his father. He opened his eyes and looked towards the great stone heads. I will make you proud one day. Believe it, Dad, Naruto says, with mass amounts of determination. You know, one would think he already is, Naruto. A voice says from a low tree branch. Huh? Oh, Kakashi-sensei. What's up? Naruto says as he stands in front of his sensei. Lady Tsunade wished to speak with us. It's probably time for another mission. Well, then what are we waiting for? Let's go, Naruto says excitedly, speeding off towards the Hokage's office without much hesitation. Meanwhile in the Hokage's office. Now listen. This mission is to be taken care of with the most caution possible. Got it? Tsunade says, issuing her final orders. Will do, Lady Tsunade. Shikamaru tells her as he begins to walk out the door. Shikamaru reached for the door and immediately as he grabs the handle, the door slams open into his face and falls back onto the floor, dazed and confused. On the other side of the now opened doors, stood Naruto and a face palming Kakashi. We are here and ready to. Oh, Shikamaru. Sorry about that, Naruto says laughing nervously. What a drag, you couldn't have knocked first. The shadow user says, rubbing his head. Enough. Naruto froze in place. He didn't like this side of Tsunade. Either his entry or the seriousness of the next few minutes were the reason why she was like this. Or, maybe it was both. Listen up you two, cause I am only gonna give these instructions once. The door bursts open once again to reveal a girl in a dark purple, black and white outfit, much like Sakura's, which had the Rinnegan clan's purple emblem on the front and back of her top. Sorry I am late, Hokage-sama. Can people stop barging in while I am talking? Tsunade yells out. Sorry, Hokage-sama, I ran as fast as I could. Lily says, trying to catch her breath. Whatever. Now listen up. I just sent out word to the other villages. We are going on the offensive against the Akatsuki. What? The three shinobi exclaim in disbelief. So far the Akatsuki have 3 of the tailed beasts. We cannot allow more to be captured. So we need to start taking them down. Intel gathered over the years by Jiraiya suggests that there are 9 of them. Used to be 10 until Orochimaru defected from the group not long ago. Tsunade explains. How are we supposed to go after a group of ninja that we don't even have much solid intel on? Naruto asks, obviously very confused. Well, based on what we know that Itachi is a member. Kisame Hoshigaki makes 2, and Sasori of the Red Sands is the 3rd that we know of. She tells them, right, so let me get this straight. You want to send countless ninja on a suicide mission? Lily exclaims. While that is what it seems like, that is not the case. I am only sending your squad. Tsunade says. Squad? I am a part of a squad? Lily questions. Yes, you are now a part of the Hidden Leaf, and depending on your clan's response, they may be able to move some of their people here. She rambles. That may not be a good idea, Lady Tsunade. A lot of my people didn't take very kindly to Jinchuriki. I see. Then perhaps Naruto can take you into his own clan? Then the members of Rinnegan can't touch you. She suggests. Lily gives a look of uncertainty. I don't know. I'm not sure right now. Could I take some time to think about that? Of course. We won't force you into something if you don't wish to go along with anything. The Hokage says with a smile. Wait, hold on a second. First question. The Rinnegan clan is joining Konoha? How did this go right by the elders? Because I'm the Hokage. They have little to do with anything outside of keeping the village happy. And Naruto, where in the hell have you been for the last 5 minutes? Tsunade yells with a face that screams WTF. Honestly, I've been trying to figure out how I'm gonna deal with Itachi. Naruto says, thinking back to the last time they met. It's quite simple, Naruto, he's an enemy of the village. A traitor. No, he's not. Not in my eyes. I have questions of my own about him. How is it he is an enemy of the village, when he was only following Lord Three Roads' orders? Naruto questions. What the hell? That's a triple S-class secret. Yes, one that Itachi himself revealed to both me and Ino-chan. I do not believe that he deserves death when he was following orders from the Hokage. Naruto yells back. There was a long silence and multiple looks of frustration on both of their faces. I'll tell you what, you bring him back alive, and I'll promote you to Junin. Failure to bring him back alive will result in a freeze of rank until I meet my maker. Tsunade says. What? That's not fair. Naruto shouts. And neither were Sarutobi-sensei's orders. Look Naruto, we live in a life where nothing is ever fair. I know Itachi followed orders, but everything has a consequence. Now go on, you have your mission. I expect you to be out first thing in the morning tomorrow, so let your team know and have them prepare. Hi, the 3 shinobi say, acknowledging their orders and dismissal. As the 3 walk out of the room, Naruto turns to Lily and Kakashi. West Gate. 9 a.m. Got it? 9 a.m. Got it, the others reply. Meanwhile with Ino and Sakura. The 2 kunoichi look out over the 3rd Hokage's head, talking about their last couple of days and discussing various things going around the village. Then they sat in silence, taking in the view of the village. Hey Sakura, what do you think about Naruto? What do you see him as? Ino asks. Ino already knew the answer to her own question, but she wanted to hear it from Sakura's mouth herself. I'll be honest with you. I like him, but you don't see him as just as a friend. Yeah, alright then. Ino says, getting up from her spot on the mountain. I am gonna run home and take a shower. I think Naruto said something about having dinner later tonight. Ino says happily. Alright, see ya around, pig. Sakura says, giggling to herself. It was a long day of traveling. Itachi and Nagato had just made camp for the night. They were going to head to the Hidden Leaf, but first they had to get back through Wind Country and then they'd have to clear the border of the Land of Fire. Lately the Hidden Leaf has spent its time fortifying the village and its surrounding areas, and this didn't go unnoticed by the last Uchiha. Something big must be coming. Not sure what though. Itachi thinks to himself as he closes his eyes and drifts off to sleep. Nagato awoke from his sleep. He wasn't sure why he did, but he brushed it off. He arose from his tent and stretched his legs. For years on end he had been connected to some sort of device Madara had created. Said that it would allow him to expand his power to 6 other individuals. It wasn't all it was cracked up to be. To Nagato it seemed that it held more weakness than strength. Before Conan left AIM, he had her remove the chakra poles that hindered his movement. They shared the briefest of exchanges before parting ways. Conan had traveled to the hidden sand village while Nagato and Itachi made their way towards the leaf. Meanwhile in Konoha, Ino and Naruto walked through the village hand in hand towards their favorite place in the whole village, the top of the Hokage monument. Over time, the monument became their go-to date spot. They could sit on the grass and look down on the city below, or they could lay back and look across the night sky and see all of the stars surrounding the moon that overlooked the village like a guardian of some sort. There was a slight breeze in the wind as the couple laid back on the grass. "Hey Ino?" "Yes Naruto? What do you know about Lord Fourth?" he asked, staring into her pretty blue eyes. "The basics that we were told in the academy, and that he sealed the 9-tails fox inside of you." Ino says, silently questioning where this is going. "Do you know why he picked me of all the newborns our age?" He pressed. "No, not really. I figured, maybe you were just a child that was found near the wreckage. But something tells me that isn't the case." "Is it? You are right in thinking that. It's a likely conclusion that no doubt, the civilians have come to, but still wrong. The reason he picked me is because I'm his son." Naruto says, bracing himself for nearly every possible reaction. "What? Naruto, you're joking, right?" Ino exclaims, her eyes wide with shock. "No, I'm not. Minato Namikaze is my father. Remember the old bingo book pictures, or the history book pictures of the previous cage?" Naruto waits for the sudden look of realization to come across Ino's face. He saw the look after Ino managed to process the information she just gained, and mixed it with all she already knew. "This is awesome. Why, you're the son of Lord Four." "Shish." Naruto puts a finger up to Ino's mouth. "What I just told you is extremely classified information. Triple S class, probably." Ino sat in shock. So many things didn't make sense. Like, why he was treated this way when the wait. Triple S class secret. The villagers wouldn't know, that's why. All Ino could do at the time was sit back and process it all. After sitting in silence for a few minutes, Ino leaned over to lay in Naruto's lap. "I'm glad you are different. That you think different from the others. That you can love me for me and not just what I am to the village." Naruto says softly, running his hands through Ino's hair as they both drifted off into sleep. Inside Naruto's mindscape, she is an acceptable mate kit. Naruto turns around to find Kurama standing behind him. "Yeah, she's the best." He smiles. "What are you gonna do about finding 2 more? While I don't like the idea, your ridiculous handlers that you are ever so loyal to aren't gonna be happy if you don't find them." "Hey wait, what about that pink-haired girl? Maybe she'd be an option?" "No, she's so focused on Sasuke. Baka, she told you she's over him. She's gotta prove that to me. And it's gonna take a lot for that to happen." Outside Hidden Sand Village, Conan stood outside the main gates to the Sand Village. "I either die or thrive here by this decision. Either way, I'll not be needing this." Conan thinks to herself as she throws her old Akatsuki cloak over her shoulder and walks through the gates. Gaara's office. "Tamari, please listen to me, we don't have much other choice." Gaara argues. The siblings have been arguing for only a few moments, yet Tamari was furious. Whether at her brother for allowing this, or at the councils of the Leaf and Sand for going around her back and setting her up with a random shinobi from a village 100 or so miles away. "How about no? I am not marrying anyone I don't want to." "Alliance be damned," Tamari screamed out. "I haven't even told you who it is." Gaara snaps back. "Who then? Who is so important to that village that they can't think I will marry Th. Uzumaki," the one word he uttered. "Who? Uzumaki Naruto. Temari's eyes widened at the thought. What the hell? Case Kage-sama. The door slams open to reveal Kankuro in full-blown panic. What did I tell you about breaking doors into my office? Gaara yells back as he glares at his older brother. Akatsuki pant main gate pant go. Baka. Come on sis, let's go. Kankuro, get off the floor. Tell Baki to put the village on high alert. Gaara yells on his way out of the building towards the main gate. At the main gate, get on the ground. Get down now. I do not wish to bring anyone harm. I only wish to speak with the case cage, she calmly says, but on the inside she's shaking. Nervous that this could be the end. All it takes is one kunai. Like hell we will ever let you near the case cage. Enough. Gaara interrupts. You, who are you and why are you here? He says sternly as Temari watches from a nearby ledge. Like I tried to explain to these idiots, I only wish to talk with you. I am Conan of AIM. And I am no longer a part of that wretched group. I ask for asylum in your village in exchange for intel I have on my former allies. Conan calmly explains. Shukaku, what do you think? Is she lying? No, she speaks the truth. The Tanuki replies. All shinobi, stand down now. Conan, was it? Follow me, we will speak in my office. Gaara tells the unnerved Kunoichi. Gaara-sama, silence Baki, I will not hear anything on the matter. Send a messenger bird to Konoha. I need Naruto here. A moment of hesitation on Baki's part caused Gaara to leak some of his old ki. Did I stutter, Baki? He says, glaring over his shoulder. The next morning, Tsunade lay in bed, just barely awake. Why the hell am I up this early? She looks to the clock on the dresser next to her bed. 6:56 a.m. She rolls her eyes one last time. Damn it. I'd like for my alarm to go off before I wake up for once in my life. She sighs, getting out of bed and dressed into her usual attire. She just finishes putting on her top when Shizune bursts through the door. Hokage-sama, you have an emergency message from Suna. She runs across the room, holding out a scroll. Tsunade takes the scroll and cracks it open and reads through it with a look of concern. Hokage-sama, we have quite the security predicament and you may want to watch out in the next couple of days. Suna, the evening of Conan's arrival. Conan was confused. Shouldn't they be torturing me? I'm an enemy S-ranked Akatsuki ninja. She questions her captor's motives as she paces the room, looking at various portraits and family photos on the walls of the case cage's office. Just then, Gaara walks in with a couple of Suna Anbu, each of them holding a tray of food. Conan, was it? Please have a seat. Gaara gestures towards the chair, pulled up to the desk as he goes to sit down in his own. Conan merely nods at her captor and sits down as she is told. Both shinobi looked at each other with indifference as Gaara dug into the tray of food meant for him. After a quarter of his tray was gone, Gaara asked her, aren't you going to eat? Conan continues to stay silent. I thought you wished to speak to me? I figured you would want some good food, since you've been traveling quite a while. That is very generous, Case Kage-sama. She then takes a nervous bite of the turkey leg that was on the tray that was placed in front of her. If you are worried that we poisoned the food, do not be concerned. Suna doesn't allow such methods of gathering intel. We have found that our captives are more forthcoming with information if we've treated them to. Gaara looks at the clock. 2 p.m. Lunch, he says, looking back at her. So you said you had information. What did you wish to tell me? Gaara says, crossing his arms. The Akatsuki have split into factions. The original group that we were, and then the Dekuman faction. Come to think of it, it's an entirely different group than we were. She pondered. Gaara nodded in response before scooping a piece of fried potato into his spoon. So this new group, who is in it? What caused the split of the Akatsuki? The split was caused by a new member that our leader Nagato had recruited. Said that he had heard about him from a source he picked up a few years back. His name was Kumoru. I never learned his last name, but he had so much sway with the other 6 members that it had become a leave or die situation, so the 3 of us left. Conan said in slight dismay. She was clearly upset about the situation but not visibly distressed over it. As she looked down at the tray of food, Gaara further questioned her. Who was this Nagato person? And who was the other person that left with you? He asks inquisitively. Nagato Uzumaki was our leader. He had created the Akatsuki to try and end all of the violence in AIM after the Third Great War, by taking down Hanzo the Salamander. After that he wanted to try to bring peace to the rest of the world, by taking out the rest of the world leaders, daimyo and kage alike. Okay, and is this why the split occurred? Gaara asks, raising an eyebrow. Partially. It wasn't until a couple of weeks ago that the plan shifted from removing world leaders to gathering tailed beasts in order to destroy each of the hidden villages. There was a long pause following this information. The tailed beasts were now going to be used to take down each of the 5 nations. Gaara knew the power of a single Jinchuriki, let alone just a tailed beast, was enough to take down a whole invasion force, and maybe even a nation the size of AIM, but a powerful hidden village like Kumo or Konoha. That would take at least 2 tailed beasts. But Suna? Suna wouldn't even be able to hold up against one. The sand was militarily decimated after the attack on the Leaf a couple of years ago. On the verge of becoming a second-rate nation at the pace they were going. Think like college football's Big 12, or Pac-12 conference, who've been left out of the college football playoff for all but 2 years. That kind of second-rate nation. OH, did you learn anything about how they planned to capture the tailed beasts? Gaara asked, slightly concerned as he was the Shukaku Jinchuriki. The plan is to capture you and the other 7 Jinchuriki alive and use a special jutsu to transfer the tailed beast from you and the others, into an ancient statue. How it's done is an answer I don't have, unfortunately. I'm only here to help you and the others to prepare for what may come. Conan explains. If that is the case, and all of this is true, then the sand owes you big. There was another long pause. You also mentioned that there were 3 of you. Who is the third? Gaara questions. Myself, Nagato, and Itachi Uchiha are the only 3 original Akatsuki members. The Decuman, as I remember it, was made up of Kisame Hoshigaki of the 7 Swordsmen, Hidan of Jashin, Kakuzu of the Waterfall, Deidara of Iwa, Sasori of the Sand, and Zetsu. There was another that mainly does things behind the scenes, but only Nagato ever spoke to him. He also had the Sharingan. I originally suspected it to be Itachi, but I learned quickly that wasn't the case. Gaara had a stern look on his face as he looked through the bingo book that was stored in his desk. Every single one of these ninja were S-ranked missing nin, 2 of which were practically immortal. And then the mystery Uchiha. With Sasuke dead, and Itachi being ruled out, there's no real options. Gaara broke out of his musings as Conan took a big spoonful of beans and gulped them down, effectively finishing the meal she was given. So what do you wish to gain, in return for supplying this intel to us? Gaara asks. Amnesty for any and all crimes against Suna and your allies, along with asylum from other nations that may see me as an enemy. Gaara thought long and hard on this. This Kunoichi could very well be a key ally in the upcoming battles against the S-ranked ninja they were going to face down sooner or later. Well worth it, he says, smiling to himself. Deal, however. I will have you placed under a 60-day probationary period. And as part of your asylum request, I will have you conscripted into my forces. Conan stood up from her chair. Thank you, Kage-sama, I will serve you as best I can. She says. Woodpecker. An Anbu appears next to the desk with a notebook and a pen. Have that intel sent to the Hokage. Tell them to be on alert for any Akatsuki members. They are no longer the enemy, Decuman is. Also, send for my sister, I have a mission for her. 10 feet outside the Konoha main gate. The next morning, Itachi stopped just short of the gate's entrance. Nagato looked at him puzzled. Are you sure you want to do this? No, but it has to be done. The Leaf needs to know what they are going to be up against. And they will need help. If they believe us, then they'll have no choice but to let us help them. Itachi says rather convincingly despite his internal feeling. You'll be able to help them, Nagato. But me, I'm finished after they get what they want from me. Itachi thought as he continued through the gate. Alarms began to go off in the Junin and Anbu facilities nearby. Shinobi started rushing towards the main gate as the intruders were slowly making it past the vacant security booth. Nara compound. Shikaku Nara was laying on the ground next to the tree in his home's backyard, and he couldn't help but feel something was off. Way off. He had been laying under the tree for an hour or so, yet he couldn't relax. He felt restless as he shifted himself one last time in a last-ditch effort to get comfortable, which surprisingly worked. Intel. Shikaku Nara, the Hokage requests your presence. The Nara growled at the Anbu. What is it, bird? This better be good because I literally just got comfy. He asks. Not sure, sir. She seemed really worried though. She's also had Sakura, Ino, Naruto, and the new girl, Lily, summoned by my squad mates. The Anbu said as he jumped off to his post. What a drag. Back with Lily, Naruto, Ino, and Sakura at the Hokage's office. Naruto and Ino yawned as they stood in front of their leader. Sakura facepalmed internally, but didn't say anything. Lily was the only neutral one. She just looked on out the window behind the Hokage, spying a messenger bird off in the distance. 6 miles away and closing fast. That's not a normal messenger either. It has a red ribbon on its foot. Something isn't right. Shikaku Nara slowly walked through the door to Tsunade's office, not prepared for the meeting he was called for. Inside he saw a few of his son's friends. Shikaku Nara, you're late, Tsunade grumbles. The other ninja in the room turned around to look at him, seeing an annoyed look on his face. Typical lazy Nara attitudes pissed her off for some reason. Sorry Tsunade-sama. Save it. I have a mission for you all. As you all know, we have lost 2 very critical shinobi. With the loss of Sasuke and our Toad Sage, we need to eliminate some threats before they come knocking. Naruto, you will be leading this mission. Shikaku, you will be his second, advising him should he need it. Naruto, per our last discussion on the topic, you are to bring him back alive. You know the consequences if you don't. What discussion, ma'am? Shikaku raises an eyebrow. Naruto is to bring Itachi Uchiha. Wham! The office doors slammed open and a messenger came running in past the other shinobi holding a scroll with the Sand Village's symbol on it. What in the hell is wrong with you people? I am in the middle of issuing a DOUBLES class mission. The messenger, barely able to speak, the Sand Village, panted, sent us a warning. The doors busted open again. Ma'am, Itachi Uchiha is at the main gate. He also has somebody with him. An Anbu yells out. Tsunade paled. Shit, I want every single Junin at that gate. Make sure Kakashi isn't late. Team Naruto, let's go get him. With Itachi and Nagato. It's too quiet. They should have been here by now. Itachi says quietly. Itachi Uchiha, freeze right where you are. Do not move or you will be killed. Nod if you understand. The raven-faced Anbu calls out.
That's all for now. If you want to see next part, then please like this video and subscribe my channel. Thank you.